Welcome to the AM show. It's the holiday edition, and of course, I can wish you Eid Mubarak. Hope you're celebrating today. I'm sure you're chilling at home, right? Chillaxing. But here we are doing our best for God and country. Something just put a smile on my face, got me laughing right before I came on air. And it is my hope that it will be a laughter-filled day for you as well. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Welcome aboard. Now, coming up in a bit, I'll be serving you the news, followed by some sports. And then for the news review, Amanda Clinton, head of chambers at the Clinton Consultancy, will join us. Also, Andrew Appiah-Dankwa, he's a lawyer and spokesperson. He's with the Movement for Change, together with our usual culprits, the final one, Kwame Nkrumah. He's a lawyer and general secretary for the CPP. And then we shall get into our big stories. And number one is the GPRTU and commercial transport operators who now say, this one Ghana cedi thing. They are demanding immediate reversal of that levy, that add-on levy to petroleum products, warning if government does not yield, they will embark on a nationwide sit-down strike on the 10th of June. The question, are they justified on the back of everything that has been said? We'll hear from them as well as you. But then, from the amendment of LI 2462 to the seizure of excavators and the blocking of imports, plus police raids and arrests, are we making any headway in the fight against Galamsey? As authorities now have uncovered something that blew my mind. A fuel station in the heart of a forest reserve in Akomfre in the Ashanti region. Can you begin to imagine that? Can this fight be won? Or is it a losing battle? Join us with your thoughts via the phone lines and on all our social media handles. And today being a Friday, it may be the Eid, but I'll still serve you my blunt thoughts. So stick and stay. It's a power-packed show. You don't want to miss a beat. The AM show is proudly sponsored by Whaley Properties. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and with a flexible payment option. Stick and stay. We'll be serving you the news in just a bit. Thank you for staying with me for the news. In our first story, a global manhunt is now underway for former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Interpol has officially published his name on its red notice list, declaring him wanted for, quote, using public office for profit. Now, this follows the special prosecutor's move to trigger international processes to pursue him across borders. There's more in this report.
Now on Interpol's global radar, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is officially listed as a 65-year-old Ghanaian born in Accra, 1.7 meters tall, with black eyes and hair, and speaks English and Twi. He served as Finance Minister from 2017 to early 2024, but is now facing criminal investigations linked to the controversial National Cathedral project, revenue deal with Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, the Ministry of Health's contract for 307 ambulances, handling and disbursement of tax funds accounts, as well as the cancellation of ECG's agreement with Beijing PXC. He was first summoned by the special prosecutor in January, but after multiple no-shows and citing medical excuses, the OSP declared him a fugitive from justice in February. He later promised to return in May, but never did.
I triggered processes for the issuance of an Interpol red notice for the location and provisional arrest of Mr. Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta in whichever jurisdiction pending extradition or his surrender. Around the same time, I dispatched a request for extradition processes to be instituted for the provisional apprehension in any jurisdiction in which Mr. Ofori-Atta may be located or found, and his extradition to the Republic of Ghana.
The Interpol notice, though not a direct arrest warrant, alerts 196 countries, including the United States, where he is believed to be. It paved the way for coordinated tracking and extradition efforts. For now, Ken Ofori-Atta remains on the run, but the special prosecutor says this pursuit will not stop until he is brought back to face justice.
Now, transport operators in Ghana, represented by the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, have announced plans to go on strike starting June the 10th, 2025. The strike is in protest of a newly imposed levy of 1 Ghana cedi on petroleum products. There's more in this report.
GPRTU argues that the levy will significantly increase operational costs for transport operators, coming on the heels of a recent reduction in fares. According to the union, this move would further strain the livelihoods of drivers and exacerbate the financial burdens on the transport industry. Imoro Abbas is the Industrial Relations Officer of the union.
This levy, which is coming on the heels of the recent reduction in transport fares, will significantly increase operational costs, resulting in loss of income, which will affect our livelihood and the general public. In the event that our call is not heeded to, we will be compelled to take industrial action and park our vehicles on June 10th, 2025.
If the strike goes ahead as planned, it could disrupt public transportation across the country, affecting commuters and businesses that rely on their services. The GPRTU is demanding a reconsideration of the levy, emphasizing the need for policies that support rather than increase operational costs and hinder the transport sector's growth.
And if it's going to be slashed by 1 cedi on a litre, do you know how a professional driver value pesos on liters? Even if 20 pesos is reduced on fuel, we have a lot of deep grief.
But beyond the transportation sector, concerns are also emerging about the broader impact of the levy on other aspects of the economy. CEO of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies says the levy is simply throwing more money at a system that is structurally broken.
You are thinking of 1 cedi, but it won't be a 1 cedi impact. It will be more than 1 cedi. You're looking around 1 cedi, 20 pesos because of the operational cost that will come with it.
Meanwhile, co-chair of the Ghana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, Dr. Steve Mantel, has raised concerns over the absence of a sunset clause in the bill. He says without a clear end date, the levy could become permanent, just like other so-called temporary taxes that were never repealed.
A sunset clause would have given us that assurance, because all the fears people and then the misgivings people have about this 1 cedi additional levy is as a result of the fact that in the past, government has not kept faith with the citizens.
The situation remains tense and negotiations between transport operators and the government are yet to yield any resolution. Commuters and stakeholders are advised to prepare for potential disruptions starting June 10, 2025, as the strike could have far-reaching implications for daily life and economic activities.
Now, the Court of Appeal has acquitted and discharged Yao Asante Ejekum, a man previously convicted as an alleged accomplice of notorious armed robber Atai after spending 23 years in prison for a crime the court now says he was wrongfully convicted of. Mr. Asante Ejekum was the auto mechanic for the notorious armed robber during his time of arrest more than 2 decades ago. There is more in this report.
A high court found Yao Ajekum guilty of conspiracy to commit robbery and sentenced him to 35 years in prison based on allegations that he was linked to Atai's criminal activities. Mr. Ajekum, however, maintained his innocence and filed an appeal, arguing that the prosecution failed to prove his involvement beyond reasonable doubt. Yao Ajekum expressed his joy after being found not guilty.
A taxi driver. And Debbie, me all one mammy, I am a cocoa. No, no, I saw them never me. See, if me, say, me no more cocoa bottle. Me can be a man gentle. Am I a me auntie, my sister, I bet you what more than 6 months. Near them call a man 8 years. Try a man 8 months, 2010, they jail me 30 years. See me when you say me menyeshe. See I'm a shop, not more shop, shop no.
His lawyer, who handled the case on a pro bono basis, was relieved with the verdict and added that he always knew his client was innocent.
I'm very glad for him, and I think he can come out and he can start a new life. And it's days like this that we get some sort of professional satisfaction in the sort of work we do.
His daughter, who was just a year old when her father was imprisoned, was equally elated after seeing her father finally free.
But I'm very happy. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Anytime when I go there and visit him, I feel sad. I can't even eat well if I visit him. But today, it's a tears of joy. I'm very happy and I'm grateful.
For now, Yao Santia Jakum says he is grateful to regain his freedom and hopes to rebuild the life that was abruptly taken from him more than 2 decades ago.
Well, from that pathetic story, Ghana is celebrating the Tree for Life initiative launched by President Mahama earlier this year. The initiative aims at restoring the glory of degraded lands caused by illegal mining, deforestation, and other destructive environmental practices. Marking the occasion in Cape Coast, the Archbishop of the Roman Catholic Church of Ghana, Most Reverend Charles Palmer Bako, commended the government for the initiative to promote a greener Ghana and encouraged collaboration to sustain the environment. Abigail Essel Nkrumah has more in this report.
Ghana is combating deforestation amidst growing concerns of illegal mining destroying the country's forests. With a Tree for Life initiative launched by President Mahama, the country's hope to win and sustain the fight is soaring. The initiative is focused on planting 30 million tree seedlings across the country. At a gathering in Cape Coast to commemorate World Environment Day, the Archbishop of the Roman Catholic Church Ghana, the Most Reverend Charles Palmer Bako, lauded the Forestry Commission and government for promoting the Green Ghana agenda.
Let me use this opportunity, first and foremost, to commend the Forestry Commission of Ghana and the government of Ghana, past and present, for instituting this World Environment Day with special reference on making Ghana green.
Nana Efia Brenya Hodebet is the Deputy Regional Manager in charge of Cape Coast Forest District.
So on my part, and then on the part of my management, we also make a part to always come around to inspect the trees that have been planted and then make sure it gets to the level where it stands on its own.
Reverend Father Stephen Amwajesi shares how he motivates students to take part in the tree planting exercise.
And for my students, each tree you plant today, you have a book to, as a sign of a memory, so that you see one day when I planted a tree, I got a book. Because the books, we get them from the trees. So what you take from nature, you give it back. And so we are giving you books. Give back to nature by planting a tree.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Essel Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
With only 2 months in office as the district chief executive for the Kijibi district, Dr. Isaka Samsuraj says he has received about 15 requests for support following rainstorms in the area. He attributes the situation to the wanton felling of trees, which has disrupted the local weather patterns. Dr. Isaka has therefore called on residents to actively participate in the Tree for Life project to help restore the depleted vegetation cover. There's more in this report.
It is very key for us to look at how to address certain emerging environmental problems that we are facing today.
That was the DC for Kijibi District, Dr. Samsuraj Isaka, speaking to students at Kijibi Asatu Senior High School, encouraging them to take the tree planting exercise by government seriously in order to control some environmental impacts of changing weather patterns as a result of human activities on the environment. He planted a tree seedling on the school premises that he said he would visit often to ensure it is fully grown into a tree.
We are encouraging our people to plant trees. I have just done one. I have planted one. And we hope and pray that we'll plant more. The one I have done, I'm here in KJB district. I'll be following up on it. And I'm sure we'll do same for the others the school will plant.
The Forestry Commission in the district is also calling on residents to voluntarily come for various tree species for planting. Eric Makfuachi is the Forest Range Manager at KJB. He has expressed worry over the alleged number of trees planted over the past years and the reality of surviving trees. He attributes the disparity to residents not taking care of planted seedlings and non-planting of seedlings received from the Commission.
Individuals can come at any point in time. Seedlings are readily available. You just come and then you pick your seedlings. And I just want to emphasize, we go for the seedlings and then you leave it. You don't plant them. These are all part of the problem we have now. You take stock and then you have in our records on, that we have planted this quantity or number of seedlings, but you go to the field, it speaks different.
KJB Asatu Senior High School managers have also assured that they would engage students on house basis to plant trees and nurture them. Joy Kwabla Mensa is the assistant headmaster, domestic.
We're going to support the government in its effort in planting this seedling.
Peter Senu for Joy News.
In our next story, the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons is urging drivers and their conductors or mates to remain vigilant and watch out for suspicious commuters who may be carrying weapons. During a stakeholder engagement with transport operators, the acting executive secretary of the commission, Dr. Adam Bona, emphasized how vulnerable the road transport system was to individuals transporting arms from one location to the other.
And so it is important to have you here. Drivers, mate, loading boys, and parcel clerks may unwittingly move parcels upon, and weapons hidden in parcels and goods. I mean, my team have intercepted, together with security agencies, have intercepted, trucks. And sometimes, or most often, the drivers don't know. The drivers' mates don't know. For them, we are moving passengers who look very innocent, well-dressed like I am and you are. And yet they are carrying weapons to Boku. They are carrying weapons to Alavanyo, in Konya, in Kwanta. They are carrying weapons because then without you, these weapons will be difficult to move them. It's something we must admit, that without our transporters, you are playing a very important role with regards to impact on security. We are all aware. It's something that I don't have to reiterate so much.
Now, government has failed to fulfill its mandate in co-financing the Gavi. That's according to Gladys Damelin, Program Manager for Hope for Future Generations. The program's manager, who has been speaking at a training workshop for journalists on immunization reporting, indicated that government's failure to fulfill its part of the Gavi project may hamper the nation's progress in eradicating the 6 killer diseases. Ghana in 2022 did not fulfill its co-financing commitment to Gavi, leading to vaccine shortages that persisted into early 2023, disrupting immunization programs and increasing the risk of disease outbreaks. She says the Mahama-led administration must revisit the Ghana Vaccine Institute and ensure the country is able to produce and manage its vaccine production.
For this year, 2025, government is yet to fulfill its co-financing obligation. So the co-financing obligation is such that government has a part to pay and Gavi also has a part to pay. So we are waiting for the government of Ghana to pay its part, and then we can get the vaccines procured and shipped down. If we further delay, the fear is that we may have stock out. So we could have situation where you take your children to the child welfare clinics and they will tell you that this particular vaccine is not available. And we know that if we don't vaccinate our children, the public concern or public health as we want to achieve may not be achieved. Yes, the Vaccine Institute is established. We just hope that they will begin to implement some of the strategies that they have in their documents.
My last question to you will be about.
Well, let's serve you our business updates now. And economist Professor Patrick Esuming has urged the Bank of Ghana to strengthen its equity position despite the significant reduction of losses incurred last year. This advice comes after the central bank recorded an operating loss of 9.49 billion Ghana cedis in 2024 compared to an operating loss of 13.23 billion Ghana cedis in 2023. However, the bank in a statement noted that this represented a net gain of 4 billion Ghana cedis compared to its 2023 financials, which recorded a loss of 9.19 billion. Now, reacting to the development, Professor Patrick Esuming said the reduction in losses was commendable.
Yeah, I think, I have to say, I haven't read the full report. I've only read the press release. So, I only comment based on that. I think the first thing to notice is that much of the losses are related to their core business. That is great. It hasn't come from financing the government, which is something that we had that has caused us a lot of problem in 2022. So I think that is good. Now, and also the fact that it's trending, of course, 2022 was an extreme year, but, it's reduced from what it was in 2023, and it's trending the right way. So I think that is good. But, I think the equity position of the BOG still needs strengthening. And then hopefully, in the coming years, the government will deal with that.
Now, President John Dramani Mahama has assured that funds mobilized from the new energy sector levy will be used judiciously. This follows an announcement by government to hopefully mobilize 5.7 billion Ghana cedis every year to help solve the country's power crisis. However, some industry watchers have argued that previous levies collected were misapplied. But speaking after receiving the 2025 National Economic Dialogue report, President Mahama insisted the situation would be different this time round.
Our energy sector carries a debt burden of over 3.1 billion US dollars, with an estimated 1.8 billion US dollars more required to finance fuel procurements for uninterrupted thermal power generation in the coming months. If left unaddressed, this situation significantly threatens national productivity and industrial growth. While we have devised a strategy to liquidate this debt and staunch the bleeding in the power sector, we must take advantage of recent gains created by appreciation in the value of our currency to accelerate the solution to our energy sector challenges. In line with the dialogue's recommendation to boldly tackle the crisis in the energy sector, Parliament yesterday approved an amendment to the Energy Sector Levies Act and a certificate of urgency, introducing a 1 Ghana cedi increase in the energy sector recovery levy. This decision, though difficult, is necessary and justifiable. The additional revenue projected is 5.7 billion cedis annually. This revenue will be strictly ring-fenced to pay down legacy energy debt, finance ongoing fuel purchase, and avert the risk of recurring power shortages. Funds from this levy will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. And the minister is here. I know when money falls into the consolidated fund, it faces certain hazards. It will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. The fund will be regularly audited and audit reports made public to ensure its transparent use. While initially much of this revenue will go into the purchase of fuel to ensure stable supply of electricity, with the ongoing developments in the upstream sector, we expect to receive more gas from our E&I Sankofa and Jubilee and 10 fields. With also the assurance of additional gas through the West African gas pipeline, we expect to substantially reduce the use of liquid fuels in our energy mix.
And that's it for our business updates. But like we always say, coming up in sports, disability is not inability. And in our Disability Sports Series, today we throw the spotlight on some athletes at the University of Ghana who, though considered disabled, are doing wonderful things. That feature is up next.
In a world where the odds seem stacked against them, two remarkable athletes are proving that disability is not inability. This is the story of Edmond Governor and Amos Ayanga, Ghana's rising para-athletes determined to make a mark in the world of sports. Edmond Governor lost his arm in an accident, a moment that changed his life forever. But rather than give up, he found strength in para-sports, competing in shot put and javelin, while leading the national team as captain. His journey hasn't been easy, but his talent is undeniable.
I was introduced to it by a physio. I actually had an accident. I was involved in a road traffic accident, and I think in my rehabilitation, that was where I met a physio. We were talking, and then he introduced me to sport as part of my rehab, you know. Through the process, we got through it, and he introduced it to me. And then I got interested and then read more about it. So after my recovery, I decided to take it up as you know, an interest to explore and see how it's going to help me. I needed to get someone to counsel me on what exactly I would do. And then I approached the NPC at the time. It's been about 7 years now. So I spoke to them about it, and then they counseled me through, looked at my strengths and where they feel I can do well, and then the interest that I had most, which was athletics. And then I took up athletics. And then even the athletics had some process that I had to go through and all of that. So it has been a mixed feeling.
Amos Ayanga's journey mirrors that of Edmond. He, too, lost an arm but refused to let it define his future. Today, he's pushing boundaries and sprinting a long jump. His speed and determination have already earned him opportunities to represent Ghana.
Well, way back in school, primary, we used to come to Ewak to train, to do competitions here, inter-schools. So, more times when I came, actually, I was the best athlete among them. So, Coach Ibrahim Suleimana get close to me, and he told me that the way I was able to run with the able people and become first, he wanted to train me so that I can become somebody in future. So, that's making me gain interested in the athletics. Through the sports, I was able to travel to Morocco, France, Malawi. Yeah, so I went to experience life out there. So it has really helped me a lot. When I went to Morocco and France and Malawi instead, I met so many different people, the kind of disabilities, and you know. So I see myself that, oh, as for me, I'm okay. Because even with my condition, I can wash, I can do all things by myself. So even as strong, I always thank God for giving me the strength and ability to do the sports. Let's go.
Behind their progress is Coach Ibrahim Aminu Suleiman, a man with a keen eye for talent and a deep passion for developing para-sports in Ghana. Along with Amos, he has discovered a number of athletes and has been guiding them towards their dreams.
Somebody like Amos. I got Amos, when Amos in his, I think, class 5, or class 5 to class 6 at Kotobabi, that school over there. They came to Ewak with able people, and he was the fastest guy among them. So I quickly approached him. I told him, guy, what's your name? And he mentioned his name. Who is your sports teacher? And I said, can I talk to your sports teacher? So I quickly went to the sports teacher. I told him, Charlie, this guy is a product. It's a material for the nation, not for you alone and not for me. We can help me to achieve something. The coach said, okay, then that will be fine. If he will go back to school and talk to his parents, because I think they are closer to the school. So that's where I got Amos from. And my able, my shot putter, my discus thrower, Eddie, was motivated by himself. Through our education, and he also came on board. Then we start working together.
However, every great athlete thrives within a system that supports them, one that offers proper training, facilities and opportunities to compete at the highest level. But for para-athletes in Ghana, that foundation is still lacking. Despite their talent and determination, they face significant challenges that stand in the way of their dreams. Now, they are raising their voices, calling for the support they need.
The challenge is the spirit, especially you can wake up early in the morning around 5 o'clock to training, and after there will be no support of transports. Always you have to use your pocket money to training. So the day you don't have money, you have to trek from wherever you are to training. And so more times, because of the situation, more times I give up. That one day I'll say, more times I give up. It's Coach Ibrahim Suleimana and Breadmon. They will be the people that called me and encouraged me, giving the morale that I shouldn't give up. You know, every successful man must struggle, and you know, you have to sacrifice for your own self.
I believe for para-athletics, we have a peculiar challenge, and that challenge has always been competitions. When I say competitions, we mostly lack local competitions. We are not able to have an orientation where we're able to compete with people in the same disability category or impairment category before you are exposed to the world or the developed countries. So it makes us, you know, I don't know, it doesn't really give us the edge when we get there because we see new things.
Our stadiums are not friendly to them. To we, let me say we, because they are not alone, I'm with them. So we don't have friendly stadium to organize any international competition.
When I see how they support the other sports, especially the football, but the athletics is not, the support is small.
It's not just with those of us doing athletics. It encompasses other para-disciplines as well. You know, we have, in para-athletics, for instance, we have people, we have races. We have the wheelchair races. And some of these wheelchair races, racing equipment costs a fortune. Before you are able to get them, it's not easy, especially for them. And we have athletes who really want to do it, but they don't even have the prosthesis. We have very talented people who want to use prosthesis to, you know, run with and all of that. But we don't have it. We know we are growing, but I believe if we start from somewhere hard and people are able to understand what it is, I believe Ghana can boast of a lot of para-athletes coming home with medals.
Despite the many challenges they go through, Edmond and Amos remain poised to serve as inspiration for the many people with disabilities on the streets of Ghana, struggling to make a living. They want to prove that there is another way, a path to dignity, self-worth and achievement through sports.
Yeah, I want to share this to my colleagues who are disabled and they are on the street begging. Begging is not an option. There are so many opportunities for them.
Parasports is one particular area where people with disability or people with impairment or people who are challenged can also, you know, take up opportunities like sports, education, and other social orientations that would open up doors for them.
Me per se, aside of the sports, I try to barber small. Even sometimes when I'm home, I can do home barber. I know how to barber very well. And after that, I know how to do so many things. So there is more opportunity for them.
You can use para sport as a tool to change the world in which you are, or use para sports to, help others to come along with. So, I mean, it's a good thing, not just only representing your country or, representing the flag of Ghana and then performing at the highest level and then winning a medal. I think that is it. That is the highest, but there are other things that comes with it.
In recent years, para sports have surged as a powerful force for inclusion and excellence, transforming societal views of disability with enhanced media exposure, funding and facilities.
Look, I can bet you today's date, just write it down somewhere. 5 years to go, 5 years to come from now, if we do proper scouting, proper recruitment, proper training, proper plan, we are going to bring glory than at the other disciplines, because everything is now football. Now we are pleading and appealing to the incoming minister to come on board and open his wings to all the disciplines.
From para athletics and amputee football to powerlifting and wheelchair tennis, Ghana's para athletes are calling for a fair share of national resources to invest in their dreams and provide them with the platform they deserve. For Joy Sports, Razak Musbah.
Region then. So I got there. By the grace of God, I was appointed into the senior membership position as an assistant registrar, and that is when my career as a university administrator actually started. Even as a senior member and as a university administrator, I do part-time teaching. So have you heard of a Chartered Institute of Administrators and Management Consultant? I'm a member. Yes, so I'm a chartered professional administrator and chartered management consultant.
Oh, wow.
And then I do part-time teaching with them. There are some times I have to handle courses internally for them.
Online or in person?
In person.
Ooh. She sought help, bounced back, pursued her master's and PhD, and remains on track to achieve all she's planned for herself. The academic breakthrough strengthened her bond with her children, one she will always cherish.
It's been marriage, career, schooling, and then my career also as a gospel musician. And the journey hasn't been easy.
I can imagine.
Has been good with profound memories, but has also been how would I describe it, has also been a difficult one at the same time, especially when you have to manage the children. You have to pay attention to your work. You have to pay attention to your school, your studies, and then you have to pay attention to ministry. There are some programs I virtually have to go with the little one. Yeah. Sometimes I finish my administration and she's already sleeping on my lap. And I have to do it. Yeah. Because there's a call for both. I have to be a mother and I have to be a gospel musician. I have to be a mother, I have to be a career woman, a professional woman. I have to be a mother and I have to be a scholar. I have to study. I have to further my studies as well. So that is how marriage, parenting has been.
As a goal-getter, Dr. Entry refused to stay home to take care of the children. For her, bringing them along wherever she went was perfectly acceptable.
In 2023, where the deadlines were looming and there was so much pressure on me around that period, between May and then August 2023. So around that period, I had to submit my documents for promotion to the rank of deputy registrar. And that requires minimum of 10 papers. For UDS, they require or request that you submit publications as well. So I submitted 4 publications, 2 technical papers, action memos, position papers. I submitted about 14 of them instead of 10. Because I wanted to be sure that I'm giving it to you and I wanted to earn that position. So here I was alone with the children and I had to do that. I wrote on punctuality, I wrote on motivation, I wrote on extracurricular, impact of extracurricular activities. I also wrote on I critiqued the sexual harassment policy. Beyond that, what do you have to offer as a university to your student? I also looked at academic quality assurance and then handing over templates for the university. Quite a number of actions to be taken. So I had that one to be completed, that deadline to be met, and at the same time, my supervisor was on me to submit my final PhD thesis in the same August. And there was so much pressure on me. There was so much pressure on me at that time. I remember that there were times when I closed from work, I sit by my computer in the evening at 6. In between, they will bring their homework because Daddy was working in Accra. So I was there with them alone. The senior one was in a boarding school in Accra. I was there with the 2 young ones. In between, they would bring their homework for me to check. But from 6 p.m., when I closed from work, to the following day, 6 a.m., I'll be by my computer, working on my thesis or fine-tuning my promotion documents. At 6 a.m., I would come out. Have you had your bath? Sometimes I wouldn't have prepared breakfast by then. I'll pick our bowls, put it in a basket with our sugar, everything. We just go and buy cocoa by the roadside. And then I'll drive them to school. So in the car, they will be taking their cocoa. I'll drop them off. Their school was just across UDS Street. So I'll drive to the car park, take my cocoa too, and then dress up, apply my makeup and everything in the car, get down. I'll go and continue. I haven't slept. Then I'll go and continue my work for the day.
But did you have energy for that?
I did. I had to beat that deadline. And then from the office, one of my sisters was managing a restaurant on the campus. So from the office, I'll just pick them. We'll just go to the restaurant, pick food there, and then go to the house. One of the days, in fact, that question hit me so hard. My second born, David, he asked me, Mommy, when are we going to eat food that you have prepared in the house? Because he was buying cocoa, buying wache, and picking food from the restaurant for them. The time was, I didn't have the time on my hands, but I had to. So the PhD thesis is actually dedicated to my children. And then Daddy too was in Accra. His work involves a lot of traveling. I had my senior girl in a boarding school in Accra. There were times I had to leave my children with a family friend, come to Accra, visit Daddy. But it wouldn't be the visiting time for the one at the boarding school. So I have to go and come back and then visit her at another time. Probably at that time, Daddy wouldn't even be in the country. Wow. And I'll come and attend to her. And so 2023 was just bad. Again, I would say purpose and resilience and grace. I had to go through that. And I'm happy that I have grown into the woman you see today. I believe that with purpose, diligence, focus, and all that, you would be able to. We would get there as women.
She urges mothers to take the intentional step of understanding their children, as that can greatly help avoid surprises.
So as mothers, we also find ourselves as mentors to our children. Mostly they are very close to us and they pick up a lot of things from us. But we have to pay attention, especially to them between the ages of 5 and 12 years. That is when they pick a lot of habits outside and from home. Today's children are different. They know what you want. So they would come and put up the attitude that you would want to see in the house. And then when they leave the house, they put up a different, a different one. So it's basically studying them and identifying their strengths and their weaknesses. If you find out that they are strengths, you help your children build on those strengths.
Now, from that beautiful story, let's head back into the studio. I'll be taking you outside of the studio in a bit. Where? That's a card I'm holding to my chest. Don't you forget, the AM show is proudly sponsored by Waylead Properties. And my question, are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Well, Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such an investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit here in Accra. And now we're inviting you to invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and with a flexible payment option. At Waylead Properties, we provide you with 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay memorable. All I'm encouraging you to do now, what I'm proffering, pick up your phone and note these numbers: 0240 111 119 or 0504 499 999. You can also check out Waylead at www.waylead.org. Before I announce my guests for the news review, let me take you to the Fadama Township, where KMJ, my colleague host on Prime Morning, is standing by. He is actually gauging the pulse of celebrations as we mark this Eid. KMJ, over to you.
Welcome, Dada.
They say about 8 and Masakobo. About 2, 1 year, Masakobo. 3, Nimaye, 6, Nimaye, 7, Nimaye. Now feed them a baby.
No independence school.
Mako, Minima, do.
Hey, why are you ready, Dada? Miss Media will come into Nadi, ain't I go bompayo? Miss Media.
I saw and so, as a miko.
So she tells me she's getting ready for the Salah celebration. She's going to say the morning prayer. She's got a few more prayers that she'll be saying before eventually sunset. And then she can also get some sleep. But she's also preparing to go to the Independence Square, where the main celebration prayers will be happening with the National Chief Imam. She sells over here, and this is her spot. She sells all the time, and this is what she's getting ready to say her prayers with at the Independence Square. So I am hungry, and I need to get some cocoa this morning. Mami both fruit. We were sugar gum dada. Okay. Okay. Hey, now which way in Konoma they may when no. We are saying 2 cities and now 3 cities. We have 5 cities. Business yo. I have 5 cities there. I'm out of my mindi mammy mena. A human on the heading. But I'm Zaka, Barika is Salam, Zaka.
Me ba cha me soli be 3. Ano pa bia me soli 3. Enti e mo be 5 no. Ni ma wie e mo 6 na me wa ha. E bi o so me ba ha ansa na 6 e bo. Ba cha.
En ko to ade ba hom.
Ba ni nyina so ye de nyame ase. Kakra kakra. Ka se nu nti ubetena se nya ye. For Musha Munina, no Pamobia, Barcara Sala. Our chief imam, Fadama, school Jansen, Timidi di Fatima Isaka.
That's my second. I'm sure that's a bar. That's so I'm I'm hungry. Okay, so this is one of my favorites. I love this buffet a lot. Barika Sallah.
Nazo ne gaisuwa a fadama saboda murnan sallah kuma ga shugabanmu chief imam Allah ya ƙara mai lafiya don albarkan manzon Allah sallallahu alaihi wa sallama. Allah ya ja kwanukansa don albarkan manzon Allah sallallahu alaihi wa sallama. Allah ya kai mu baɗi.
But you're not doing the same. The process.
Muhammad
Muntaka. Barika de Salah. You can now which match mama na ye nuanom 24 ne 24 so ate ase. You can wo.
Banjintri.
Unti papa. But o chese o show bia Barika de Salah.
Yes. Yes, inshallah. Naam. To. Alhamdulillah ina mu kowa barka da sallah. Mu fiya mu min fi barka da sallah. I'm happy New Year. Al-Barakan Qur'ani. Al-Barakan Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Amen. Okay, so that's my Muslim brothers and sisters speaking to me right here as we celebrate Eid. And this place got busy. And they got very, very busy. So I'm here. Barakah Salah. That's it.
I'm not doing more.
I'm not doing more.
Alhamdulillah. Yo.
No pay.
My bomb.
Why are you ready for Eid?
My ready, my ready. Alhamdulillah.
Now, it I don't know. Send a woman over the years and they celebrate here, and then we bet me actually catch there.
So far, Alhamdulillah, because Sanya made do to me drew this year, dear Alhamdulillah, because in Bumu hospital and I would dear what me are sorry by this time say wait me anya ako Eid dear Alhamdulillah. And the sika sem so dear no problem so far as we sorry I would di would me nya wa buy dear ako Eid dear Alhamdulillah ejuma so ekoye nyamenshiro obia so dear manu.
That's it. Now I feel my bad juma.
I feel na yebie. Yeah, be no ha ye makeup artist into no amafo gu ye so ha ye nya time nko independent ya wa ha na ye wiye adwuma na ya hye ye nyama na ya kobo mpa ye wo masalachi
we na why no eh dey insade no
hina design design ina design maka se me ana me ye edu Eid say aye pa no say we ya na add up your beauty inti Eid ne dey say wan di crampo a wutimi ye we na wo shelele crampo alhamdulillah we okay obi an say we di sala
into we be doing how many days
we dey 2 weeks 2 weeks there, okay.
Now, what to attire that?
The my BBR ready set. Yanyaka paper, men a make on.
And you pick a pray. Okay, that's it. There's a Benjamin Americans in Dinkomonga crap. Hey, no more. I should do. But I can't say I should do, Janio. Why? Oh, student name. That's the same. Oh, yeah, then why? Oh, social day. Makeup.
Ekoye pa.
It's in there. Salary. Oh, yeah, then. Oh, your special makeup. Be our yaman kofana.
Oh, bachai. More special makeup. Me yaman kofo.
Okay. And we wish you Ghana for na barika de sala.
Mo bibi barika de sala. Mr. Nakopon bo obi ahun ba ma obi afi papa.
Yo, it's a beat no so pa. Or send me to become my wife. Yo, and we're still here. This is Fadama, a very, very popular place. If you've been here before, you know that this place gets very, very, very busy most of the times. And the street over here is what you're saying. I mean, if you look at this.
And that is my colleague Alhaj KMJ. And he just took that Hausa-speaking litmus test with Muhammad, who joined him in just a bit. Muhammad was talking about, you know, the Eid and also celebrating the chief imam, wishing all, you know, great things on this special day. Barka de Salah. Anyway, let's come into the studio now. Joining me, Amanda Clinton is head of Chambers Clinton Consultancy, Andrew Apia Dankwa, lawyer and spokesperson, Movement for Change, and Kwame Nkrumah Botsio, lawyer and general secretary of the CPP. Lady, gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
A day from small for the house inside. I remember, it reminds me of an interesting incident. I get to Afrikiko. You see the traffic light there. If you're coming to where Afrikiko is to your right? And then you take that traffic light and you can turn towards Christ the King and other places.
Yeah.
And this biker, you know, a lot of them, he just does this thing and swerves in front of me and all of that. And I roll my glass and I'm like, oh, senior, what's up? Then he starts speaking Hausa. I speak something back to him and then his jaw literally drops. He's like, he didn't expect, that. It just reminded me of that incident this morning. Charlie, you have to be versatile. No?
Yes.
Bark when you must bark and meow when you must meow. But thanks for joining the conversation. How are you finding the holiday?
It's very relaxing. I think there's a positive mood around in spite of everything. It seems we are still united. There's peace in the country, and we are forging ahead as one people. And just like you are somebody.
In spite of everything, we are still.
Well,
what are the things?
We'll get into the nitty-gritties where we start.
Okay.
You know? There are certain things that we need to address, but the Convention People's Party, we are happy about the peace and the prosperity that our Muslim brothers and sisters contribute to this country. We say Baraka da Salah. We also say that Baraka Yaga Kadana Befuzie.
Oh, nice. Amanda Clinton.
I can't top that.
You heard a lot of Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I think it is.
It basically means praise be to God.
Amen.
Thank God. I mean, let's go. I'm just getting on your case. Let's go. What are your thoughts for us this morning?
My thoughts that it is a very peaceful holiday, and we're grateful that the government has, sort of arrested the CD, as they say.
Arrested the CD?
In terms,
I think we should be careful with that. The last time it was arrested, it broke jail and started running amok.
and we're all going to get into this, I think, 1 CD petroleum tax.
Oh, we shall. It's right here on my...
It is, although there is high cost of living and it might lead to higher prices of goods and services, ultimately, I think any responsible government, which is what this government is trying to do, does have certain levies and taxes in order to make society work smoothly. So, it'll be interesting to discuss that today, where the balance lies, perhaps.
We're definitely getting there.
Yeah.
Andy, Yes, the way I was steaming Okona, no, I feel something may be coming. What is heading my way?
On a Saturday, the way we are celebrating Islam and its values, and chief among the values being peace. I can assure you that I'm choked in my one corner in a very peaceful manner. No wahala for anybody. So essentially, like my brother Butu said, I think my thoughts also are with our Muslim brothers and what this celebration means for our country. This is a very special country. If we can have Christmas celebrations or Christian-based celebrations, and we all partake, and then the Muslims also have the idea, and we all partake. I think it's something that ought to be celebrated today. My thoughts are very peaceful. My thoughts are with my Muslim brothers. I wish I could give you a bout of Arabic like what you just did, unfortunately. If I see Bosu in the corner, so that he gives me some serious support. But yeah, so let's all enjoy the holidays. Let's reflect on the values that they hold. Let's use this occasion to think about forging that one Ghana, the one Ghana that Osajo for himself envisaged, and let's propel this country towards our ultimate goal, which is to restore Ghana as the Black Star of Africa after this celebration. Yeah, so that's my thoughts for
all right.
My initial thoughts.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for those initial thoughts. Let me start from here, though, especially as I have a squad of lawyers in the studio. I want to start from some interesting stories that I have seen. And the first one I want to talk about is actually pathetic. Yawasanti Ejekum. Does his name ring a bell?
Yes.
So you remember the notorious armed robber Atai, who was caught, sentenced, and his mechanic was, also found to be complicit. This was as far back as 2002, and he was sentenced to 35 years imprisonment for, his connivance, his abetment, and all of that. He insisted he had nothing to do with the issue. And now, 25 years on, the Court of Appeal has actually said that indeed he was innocent. But think about it. 25 years or 23 years of your life, because this is 2002, gone down the drain. His mechanics workshop has collapsed. One of his children who spoke, I don't know about the wife, but one of the children who spoke was a month old when her father was put in the cooler, and now she's got to see him and all of that. It broke my heart. I followed a story like that in the UK recently where someone was convicted of rape. There had been numerous attempts, and it turned out that he wasn't the one who had committed it. In the UK, they have a ceiling of about £1 million. They have a situation there, and some people say even that is low. What do you make of it? Amanda, I'll start with you. It broke my heart. Broke my heart.
I don't think, like you said, you can't quantify life like that. You can't quantify it in money, in time with one's family. And, the loss of freedom, every day goes like 20 days. Like what we would spend as one day, I'm sure is like 20 days for that one day inside. So one can't compensate. And, as the Constitutional Review Committee, forms, I think they would really have to look into stopping this happening ever again in future, because as someone who was, part of the NAM1 men's gold case on the other side in terms of for the investors, etc., the government is trying, but again, he's still a free man, and, using the law to appeal and to do different things, and most likely he will end up being a free man. I mean, that's the estimation. And so is it that money buys you more freedom or etc.? And it really is, I think, for the Constitutional Review Committee to make sure that this never happens again, and that the appeals can be done faster, and to stop something like this happening. But one cannot quantify life like that. And it was at the mercy, I'm sure, of the panel listening, you know, the Court of Appeal panel, that they saw sense in the arguments. But, you know, it is a travesty and something never to be repeated again, I think.
Andy, what do you make of this? 23 years of your life just taken from you. How do you even reintegrate? Your work, everything is gone. Some of your relations may have passed. Like, it's mind-blowing, isn't it? And you can also delve into the issue of compensations, because then how much is it is even enough?
In fact, and also I'm sure he'll be faced with a huge shock, because the world has changed so much. I remember when we were, as in 2002, we were in tech.
Yeah.
Between that time,
I actually followed this story. You know, because I read stories about it.
The world has changed so much. But I think there's something very critical Amanda said here, and I think we need to, about the timing. So this guy was convicted in
2002.
And after 23 years, it's not an appeal verdict is coming out as an is.
Same facts.
Yes,
you know, it would be the same facts that
But to be fair to the justicial system, even in the US and other jurisdictions, we've seen this UK, we've seen the same thing happen, same facts. And people, the gentleman I spoke about who was convicted of rape, it took him, what? It took him maybe 15 plus years. I could look for the story. Same facts. And they had kept going back to court and saying he didn't do it.
Because he didn't give up.
Until that happened.
So I think we shouldn't compare with the US system, because probably in the US, the states courts would initiate it. It would go through a number of courts before it gets probably to the federal. But in our case, from the High Court, it goes to the Court of Appeal. It took 23 years. You understand? And like Amanda again rightly said, how do you compensate for this? Because life really is time. When we were talking about life, really is time.
Yeah.
And so that when they take your time away, like in the manner that that's happened to our compatriots, how do you compensate? Having said how do you compensate, some compensation must be made. Some serious compensation must be made to this poor fellow, whose life essentially has been wasted. Essentially, because I don't know, when he was living, there were no smartphones.
I mean, he will come to the shock of social media becoming what it is now.
Yeah.
The shock of advancements in mobile phones.
The shock of Gen Zs.
Gen Alpha.
No, the shock of Gen Zs. You understand? So, I feel that the state ought to compensate him, and compensate him massively. He needs to be compensated massively. I hope his lawyers do all they can to get that compensation for him. I can't say, I can't talk about imagination, because I can't think about what he's going through or the shocks that he may be facing now. But I think for us, we need to create a system where this thing doesn't happen, or the occurrence of these things are limited to the barest minimum. And so the constitutional reform or a general legal reform, because for me, it's still shocking that it's taken 23 years after his conviction for the verdict of the appeal court, or from the Court of Appeal. I had a discussion with them about appeal court and Court of Appeal. For the Court of Appeal to come out with their verdict. And I hope that he himself finds a way, because we are talking about all this, but also he himself, as in the mental side, the social side, he finds a way to find some stability, and because, like I'm saying, beyond the need for compensation, and I think that one, there can't be an argument about that. But the shocks, especially being the extent to which the world has changed over the last 23 years, I don't know how he's going to integrate, but I pray he does. And then once again, I think the state ought to compensate him compensating more than adequately for taking away 23 years of this man's life, because life really is time, and when your time is taken, then it's really your life that has been taken.
Now from there, and of course, Yawasante Ejekum and family, Yamamudie, this is not something that, even on your worst enemy, I say I don't have enemies. I don't keep enemies. If you consider me that, me, I don't keep enemies. But even your worst enemy, you wouldn't wish that upon them. I mean, this is painful. It's painful. I felt it, and we can only pray that he reintegrates properly. But from there, let's look at something else that's also legal. I'm just looking at some of the major stories that are on My Joy Online and also on Joy News. And it has to do with Ken Oforiatta. You know the saga and how it has played out, and the OSP hauling him back. Now he's been listed on Interpol's red alert over using public office for profit. I want to believe all of you have followed the story thoroughly, so I don't need to now, belabor the point. What do you make of the processes? How the OSP is addressing it? How Ken's lawyers, Frank Davies and others are also addressing it? The purported biopsy, Mayo Clinic, and then putting him back on this red notice. I'll start with you there. Did you get a bite on Yawasante?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? No. I just remembered that. Please do Yawasante, and then you can start with us.
I was actually going to ask you permission to briefly cover.
Please,
because
my apologies. Please.
And I'll start with a very controversial statement that there are many more Yawasantes.
Yes. Yes.
Once a client who is into helping prisoners, he spoke to me about this situation. And he made me follow him to one of the prisons outside the capital. I don't want to go into detail. And we met this man who had been in for, I think, almost 40 years.
Oh.
But he's out now. I hear he came out around 2018. And he was there with his co-accused. His co-accused apparently killed his own employer. And this was in the 80s. And when he was arrested, they told me, looking at his size and the size of his employer, there was no way he could have killed him alone. So he was beaten, and he just mentioned two random names. One was of a popular farmer in the area, and another popular person. And all three were sentenced.
So this was basically under duress.
Yes.
He had to save himself. He had to.
All three were sentenced to death. And within 2 weeks of the pronouncement of the death sentence, one of the innocent co-accused, he died. He died. Within 2 weeks in prison, he just died. And then he and the other one had been moved from prison to prison for almost 40 years. The day I heard their story, they were sitting by each other, hugging and crying. And the real culprit was full of so much remorse, saying that we should do our best to let his co-accused go. Because, I mean, and according to him, he had heard that his 6 children had been told that he had died in prison. His wife had moved on, etc. It's a complex story. But fortunately, I hear somewhere around 2018, he came back. There are many like that. And it's a delicate balance. There's a legal principle called Blackstone's ratio, which says that it is better for 10 guilty to walk free than for 1 innocent to be imprisoned. So it's a very fine line, because if someone commits a crime against you, you would want that person convicted at all costs, and you would be embittered if that person walked free. I would say that in this day and age of DNA and all that, we can make use of that to avoid some of these. We should really invest in scientific methods of investigation. In other jurisdictions, I know of people who had been sentenced to death, the execution carried out, and many years later, they realized that the DNA did not link them to the crime. So they were posthumously exonerated. I mean, there are so many people. You can imagine what these people go through. I mean, people who have actually been executed for crimes they did not commit. It's something that can happen to anybody. I hope Yawasante is compensated not only by the state, but also by well-wishers. And I hope that the prosecutorial authorities are also, and the police, the investigative authorities, are also given adequate resources in order to base their conclusions not only on hearsay or circumstantial evidence, but actual DNA evidence. Let's go the full haul. And our own appeal court justifiably stated in one case that the job of the prosecution is not to get a conviction at all costs. I'm paraphrasing, but to make sure that justice is done. So that is my take on it.
And let me just, you made an important point. Let me just add on to that. This is also where, in helping to reintegrate people of goodwill, companies, these are the people that, I mean, if you did something, because imagine it, 23 years of your life, mechanic, your shop is gone, everything, you've practically lost everything. This is where sometimes we must put a human face to it and reach out to this person, corporate entities and all of that. Oh, we've heard of your plight. You know what? G20,000 cities, G100,000 cities, because it's not easy.
At all.
And these are the things that I feel we can do sometimes to let people know that, look, we are human and we are there for one another. So I'm just appealing. If you can, let some of these, I would be very happy to hear that in the coming days or week or something, some entities have reached out to Yawasanti Ajekum. I don't know, but I really feel for him. Yeah. I really feel for him. Anyway, let's get into Kenoforiata. You start and then Amanda will follow from.
So I've been following that also closely. I listened to the OSP's press conference. And as always, I admire his lucid, the way he presents his thoughts. I mean, it's a joy to listen to him. And another thing I was happy about is during that press conference, he mentioned the NPA scandal without mentioning names.
Yes.
Without mentioning.
Is it the 280 million?
Yes. I was happy about that. But regarding the Kenoforiata issue, you know, I honestly speaking, I struggle to understand where this press conference method came from, because I know that you are suspected of doing something, investigations are done, you are processed for court. But apparently, the people need to know what is going on. But there are people who have been exonerated, or more or less the AG has discontinued cases against them, but their names have already been dragged in the mud. I mean, many people. Our own Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the OSP at a point was investigating the Airbus scandal. We have our able finance minister, also ambulance scandal. You know, when these things get in the public domain, even when you are exonerated at the end, yet still the damage has been done. People tag you. And maybe eventually I'll understand this press conference method. But to get into the law...
Is that to say you also disagree with the AGs? Because he's also done some press conferences.
Yes, I am not too fond, not only this time, even during the previous administration. I feel the law is so sacrosanct. It's something that, as much as possible, the details that have to come out after conviction, I believe it's important. If you're able to secure a conviction, you come out and say, this person was accused of this, we did our investigations, we successfully convicted him. But through allegations out there, when you have not been through the court of law, sometimes as much as I say that Ghana's judiciary is one of the strongest and most credible worldwide, sometimes you may have some of these public pressures weighing on the court. Yesterday, for example, I saw a statement by a media personality calling out a judge for a ruling against a relative of his, and I thought that was in very bad taste. So we need to look at how these press conferences affect the judicial process itself. Because if you are putting all the facts out there, you are putting the allegations out there, and the court goes into the case. As I always say in the book of Proverbs, it said the first person to speak always sounds right until he is cross-examined. The legal process is such that everything may look black and white, but after you go into the case, you realize that it is not so. I mean, you can even...
But let me just ask you, though, is there anything wrong with these press conferences? Because I've seen them in other jurisdictions. And in fact, someone who is very knowledgeable about the case also says, but this is the same format used by the FBI and the SFO, and holding a presser is part of the investigative process. These are high-stakes public interest cases. How do you respond to that?
I know that...
and this is someone who knows a lot about the process and all of that.
Yeah, but you know, we have to have our own way of doing things. I know that is how it is done in the West, but we shouldn't copy blindly.
Okay.
You see, I believe that the real battle is in the courtroom. Marshal your evidence, get ready for battle. Make sure justice is done. Make sure justice is done.
Okay.
And I know that Honorable Ken Oforiatta has requested for video conferencing. I don't see the problem with that. At the same time, regarding a letter from Mayo Clinic and others, to even excuse your clients from court, you have to provide medical evidence. From what I have seen, the biopsy report, it's a lab report to say that tissue has been found, which is potentially cancerous.
Right.
However, that is not a medical report that says that this patient is not well enough to travel. This patient is not well enough to attend court. It's a different thing feeling too unwell to attend to these proceedings. And it's a different thing having it certified by a doctor. So as much as I believe that Honorable Oforiatta's team means well, they should go the extra mile and then get that doctor. It's very easy to, get.
And that's also what the OSP has said, Amanda, that we need a watertight report on the back of which we can also delve into some of the other matters. And I see more comments coming through. There's also this, also from a legal luminary, saying, how do you take a caution statement from video conferencing when he has not been arrested? Can you arrest on the internet? On the sickness bit, of course, those other dynamics also come to play. What is your take on how this case has been handled?
Yes, we're all aware that public awareness is important for corruption cases, and it's practically one of the OSP's mandate that the public knows what's going on in the efforts and accountability.
And let me just say this: it didn't start with Ken Oforiatta from
No,
Ken
it didn't.
I think Damwa. I mean, all these people, Cecilia Dapa, and it's always been like this.
Yes, but that leads nicely to my point of, and what you were just saying, political polarization. You see what I mean? There is a fine line between holding a press conference in order to enlighten the public as to efforts to move a corruption case forward with no emotion, etc., but there is, and when we see it play out in the world in terms of the UK, US, etc., there isn't this hugely political side too much. I mean, I think Trump is going to get into that territory soon, but in the past, there hasn't been that much of this political thing. And the danger the Office of the Special Prosecutor faces, for instance, issuing a red notice, absolutely, Interpol notification of red notice is appropriate in these circumstances. But again, did it need to be made public in terms of the real purpose of a red notice is a high net worth individual taking a private jet or a commercial plane somewhere and then just being nabbed because there is a silent red notice as to this is a person to be picked up. So we have to look behind the intention of these notices and the international angle of it, etc. That there can be a red notice, but it's often silent. So as they move in their high-end lifestyle, having to go from border to border, they're just quickly nabbed and quickly deposited in that home state, which would have avoided all this. So the subtle nuances of holding this press conference and saying, yes, this is what we're doing, and this is a red notice, and this is you've just compromised an international operation potentially, which could have netted you that same individual to be picked up on the border going to Cannes or wherever. Because you wanted
those who will dispute
seem.
what you say will also mention, I mean, I'm sure you've even watched in movies and in other real life cases where because someone is declared wanted, an ordinary citizen spots the person, gives the alert, and that person is apprehended.
Yes,
that's the other argument that will be made. When you put this person on the red notice and the whole world knows that we're looking for this person, those are the benefits. You speak of the downsides as well.
But what you're talking about is going through diplomatic channels as well.
What diplomatic
Well, for instance, even if there's a tip-off and he's caught, the real way you tip off is to notify the authorities, because this is an individual who is part of government.
You tip off the authorities and the general public gets to know these things. How do they happen? Usually there's a picture slapped on television, and that's how an ordinary person at a fuel station or whatever can point that, oh, I just saw this person moving, and then the authorities can come in.
But then we do have an extradition treaty.
I'm just saying, we're just creating a scene.
Yes, but we do have an extradition treaty with the United States, for instance. I think it goes back to 1935. And with this extradition treaty, he can, formally be extradited. And there is a procedural requirement that the requesting country must provide sufficient evidence to establish a prima facie case. And ironically, the exception to this treaty is a political offense exception. The treaty excludes extradition for offenses deemed political in nature, which I'm sure, because of this, the way the government is building the case, who knows if Kenya Friata will go down that line. But ultimately, political polarization is something at play here. And yes, it would be better that he came back and faced these charges, and it is for government to lead this case the way they want to lead it. But to soil people's names publicly and have
Do you think that's what's being done?
Well, yes. You can't have a trial by media, because even if you have a video right now of someone walking in here...
But the OSP has given he's listed specific charges against Ken Ofori-Atta.
Yes,
and they are inviting him to come for some conversations to be had.
Yes.
Based upon which then we shall know whether prosecutions will follow or not. So how can you suggest that they're merely prosecuting him in public?
Well, again, because the ultimate forum is a courtroom. And some of these things have to be made. There's a fine balance between how much you release to the public and how much you keep private. And I do think the OSP does come from a commercial... he's a civil lawyer by practice before he... was deputy and then became OSP.
He teaches criminal law. He's handled
yes,
a lot
but the
of
point,
criminal cases.
But I would not have handled this in this way, particularly in relation to this red notice.
Okay, so that's you.
Yeah, well, that's me. But the red notice. Okay, you know what? If the ultimate aim is you want this man to come down to Ghana and you want it done in the quickest and fastest way in order for him to face trial, the best way to have done that was to have a silent red notice so he could be picked up. Because the other thing about high net worth individuals is that they can buy passports, for instance. All you need is to invest $200,000 in a particular country, they'll give you a passport. So this is a man potentially with 4 or 5 passports, and then you've just gone to issue out that red
there are
notice.
About 6 places from the Cayman Islands
yes, and he could go to a non-extradition
other...
country.
Right.
So these are the subtle nuances in a criminal investigation case that it's not being handled.
Point made. So there's also a point that, of course, the OSP has not said he is guilty. That's one thing. You do know the OSP has both arrest and prosecutorial powers to some extent, right? And I also see my legal luminary friend add on some, thoughts here. He's also watching us. And he says, with the FBI, for example, they have 2 different lists. There's a wanted list and a most wanted list.
Okay.
They put people on, depending on the gravity of, what you've done. And he says the OSP is an independent state agency, not like NIB, IOCO, and all of that. And it is enforcing his attendance, which it has the power to do. And he also says, per what he has followed, it is Ken, rather, who has put certain things in the public. That whole Mayo Clinic thing, per the OSP, never came to them directly. They rather found it in the media. Kind of like the CJ case and some of the things we've seen in there. So those are dynamics to look at. But Andy, while you look at all of this, I also want you to look at the law. What does the law say about, for example, the Office of the Special Prosecutor or our law courts in dealing, or the AG, in dealing with such instances? Are they forbidden in any way from doing this? Apart from Article 146, which in the CJ matter we'll talk about, saying that it shall be held in camera, it stipulates clearly. In these instances, what does the law say? And just to add up, and these public ones, while I feel there must be utmost fairness, you know, the law also has a deterrent, end that it seeks to achieve. So that sometimes if you see, hey, my neighbor's beard is on fire, make her watch out, make her know. How do you sum up all of these in terms of what is happening?
Specific cases where the court law itself says all trials are public. Anybody at all can walk into court.
The courtroom.
Yeah.
So and observe.
Yeah. Two, the judges, where do they get their powers to even be judges in the first place to prosecute, or this whole justice business? Our constitution says that those powers emanate from us, and they're supposed to be used for our purposes. You understand? Also, we have a constitution that says that it is premised under the principles of probity and accountability. You understand? And so when you put all these...
In fact, transparency. Don't forget, transparency, probity and accountability.
Yeah. So for me, when you put all these together, in terms of the press conference, in fact, I even think that is a plus for public, what's called, officials. I think I support because we won't need to know. Also in this country, where there's a thin line between a perception of persecution and prosecution. There's a very thin line.
So imagine the Edubuahine issue for Then you keep it. Then, there will be a caucus that will say, you are not prosecuting, you are persecuting. So when you put the information out there, this is why we are doing it.
Exactly.
Right?
And indeed, the OSP has not even gone into the details. He just says we are investigating for this. He's not gone into the details. So it's not like he's thrown any fact or any evidence out there. So I don't see any issue of public, what's called a trial in the media here. But for me, I think that is not the big issue for me. For me, the big issue is, in 2017, we made a huge noise about the need for an independent special prosecutor. And I think the way Ken's case has been handled tells me that we failed in that effort.
You think the special prosecutor's office is not independent?
No, certainly. Why did you not start this process in 2024?
That's a very good point.
Why did it come up? But I felt it. Why did you not get the Kayonis to start this matter in 2024? If you
just use, please,
Kayonis, yes. I'm not.
You can't use that Spanish word on. Thankfully, not everyone will. But
you want me to go to the English version?
No, don't use the English version, I beg you. Are you suggesting that even with what's maybe an ombudsman or the OSP's office that the Office of the Special Prosecutor we've created, politics is at play, so you are not free to do anything you want based on...
It's a clear case of let's do something to represent something.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a clear case of let's do something to represent something.
But he told Cicely Adapa on this, and then it had to be referred to Yoko.
What happened
it had to be referred to Yoko, and then she was cleared.
And then she's going back to Iyoko when a new government comes in.
Because Iyoko has reopened the thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that we are playing games in this country, serious games in this country. Yeah, you understand? It's like our politicians need the power, but they don't want to work.
They need the power, but they don't want to.
They need the power, but they don't want to work. No commitment, absolutely no commitment. And I'll delve into the lack of commitment issue further when we go to this energy
sector levy thing.
Yeah, because if indeed, let's look at even the law that created the OSP. Because for all intents and purposes, an argument, and I believe that the proper person who has the authority to initiate all criminal actions? It's the AG, not the OSP. If indeed they wanted to create a body that was independent, then they needed to have amended the constitution. It was not enough just leaving the constitutional provision as it is now and just create the OSP through an act. You understand? Yeah. Because would the AG be acting unconstitutionally if he asks the OSP to hand over Ken's case to him?
No. It falls under his powers.
Exactly. You understand? Yeah. So for me, I think that we need to be serious with this fight, a fight against corruption. We should stop playing games and doing something to represent something. Indeed, we need to consolidate all our so-called anti-corruption laws. Because there's a huge confusion here. Yeah, you understand? You have your one country, you have Yoko, you have Shiraj, you have CID,
NIB.
You have NIB, you have and in fact, incidents over the last week, for the last 2 weeks, for the identical communist case, in fact, the way they even act, because the fact that our constitution was promulgated under the principles of accountability, probity, and accountability, also does not mean that in how you prosecute, you should violate the principles of the rule of law. Because even in how you prosecute, it must be in a manner that reflects the abiding principles of the rule of law.
And in any case, the law is always entrenched, rooted in human rights.
Exactly.
They work hand in glove.
Yeah.
So they are not like, dual entities.
But then when you take the OSP and Ken's case, when you take Adenta Commis issue, when you take, what's it called, Chamawun Tumi's case, clearly you see that we are not faithful or fidel to the principles of the rule of law. It's all about doing something to represent something, and we play political gimmicks with every issue.
So there may be substance, right?
Yeah.
But it's how we even address that substance.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a meal you've prepared, but the garnishing. We do a lot more garnishing than focusing on the real meal.
Yeah, because you take the OSP's case, a body that's meant to be independent, but that body didn't have the courage of commission to initiate this process when Anado was president of Ghana. You understand? You take Adenta Kumi's case for a misdemeanor, an offense that was essentially is a misdemeanor. You had national security police, the guns. You understand? Go into a citizen's house for an offense that was a misdemeanor to go and pick him up under all those noise.
Yeah.
You take the case of Chema to me, and it doesn't matter whether you like him or you do not like him. But the law says that when you arrest somebody, within 48 hours, you can't keep the person unless with a court order.
Exactly.
The law is clear.
Yeah.
And unless our politics is followed by principle.
And the 48 hours, that's the ceiling.
Yeah.
That's the ceiling point. You can actually keep the person for less.
For less, exactly. You understand? And it's not an excuse that for you to say that I give bail, but because the bail is not supposed to be weaponized. You understand? To infringe on the fundamental human right of any guardian.
But on the weaponization of bail, that's where the conversation comes in. People talk of Atuesian, over 200 million Ghana cedis. People talk about, and I'm not talking of Cassio, I'm talking about the former banker.
Oh, yeah, Atuesian.
Yes.
Because this is Atufosin, but this is Atuesian.
Yes.
And then there's Woyome.
Yeah.
I think also 52 million.
Yeah.
This was
even Amwan too had a high bill.
So then all of those come into play as well.
And for me, it's not an excuse. In fact, and that's why we keep on changing government, because we want a government that will entrench the principles of the rule of law. You understand? So that where a police inquiry bill, you understand, can be used to infringe on your fundamental rights, because bail in itself does not give you bail freedom. So when you say that you shouldn't be kept in by 48 hours, it did not mean give the person bail, because you can deliberately give bail in a manner that will keep the person there for more than a month. So for me, I think when you take Ken's case, you take all these cases, the real question is, what is the commitment of our politicians and the people of Ghana to the values and principles that underpins our constitution?
Okay, so just to cap off this, can we give the OSP some credit though? I know you do know that around 2024, there were 2 impeachment attempts for the OSP.
Yes.
Including, I believe, the one that leaked and then we were all discussing. I don't want to mention names so that I don't get into any trouble here. And I remember the last time we had a representative from the OSP come here, he also spoke about the fact that even the office is fragile. Because you do know that per the Act, 2/3 of Parliament could decide to,
remove,
set this aside, quash all of this, right? And guess what? We have an administration that has
2/3.
2/3.
Yeah.
If you add their numbers and you even add, the independents who caucus with them, they literally have 2/3, and they could do that.
Yeah.
I don't think they will, but it creates a danger. There's been talk about putting this in the Constitution, adding an article on corruption in the Constitution so that this is entrenched in the Constitution. You can virtually not touch it. I wouldn't say literally, because even entrenched clauses and all of that. What is your thinking on that? And to be fair, they did prosecute, like I said, some cases under the MPP administration that you would call political.
Who?
But I mentioned some of them.
But you see, that's what in fact, the biggest example of doing something to represent something is how he handled the Sislada Palmer.
But Sislada Palmer was taken out of his hands. It was given to Iyoko. And now it is Iyoko that has re-triggered it, and that's why the US
who took it from his hands? No, who took it from his hands? Or he willingly gave it to him? But who took it from? Who took it from his hands? Yeah, no, because you see, this politics of let's do something to represent something needs to end. Otherwise, we won't make any progress as a people. We need to show real commitment, because you see, we keep on mentioning the Constitution, and that, you see, I honestly don't believe that our problem is the Constitution per se. You go to the USA, how many articles do they have in their Constitution? The UK do not have a written Constitution, but they can tell you that what you are doing is unconstitutional. See, unless and until we show real faithfulness, real fidelity to the values and principles that constitutions are meant to show, then we can put anything at all into the Constitution and it won't come to naught.
Okay, so let's conclude this conversation and move on. We do know as well that it was referred to Iyoko because it bordered on money laundering and other charges. So the OSP completed his bit and then sent it through from there. So now Iyoko itself had jurisdiction on the case. Reverend Latte says, in England and Wales, we have only one Crown Prosecution Service. In Ghana, we have AG, Iyoko, OSP. Is this not a duplication of effort? And even the whole talk about chipping away at the powers of the Attorney General, which in itself, that office, I believe it has problems. I've always said that we should have a Ministry of Justice.
I agree with you on that.
And
I agree with you.
All of that. Then there's this comment. Let me just do these comments quickly. Joy News, please. The Office of the Special Prosecutor is required to provide some form of quarterly update to Ghanaians based on the act that establishes and mandates its operations. I'm not a lawyer, but how exactly is the OSP expected to comply with this requirement? Are citizens not entitled to know how public officials are being held accountable? That's from Emmanuel Buama. There was an interesting one that came through. He says, Francis Duo says, what's this guy's... okay, so let me leave that out. Nobody asked you to be... So what's this guy saying? He's referring to Ken. But nobody asked you to be a politician. Once you come into public space, you no longer have secrets. No, it doesn't mean that you don't have privacy. You don't have a private life just because of that. But let's hold for me, please. I'll come to you. Who hasn't got a bite? All of you have got a bite.
I think we...
No, you've got a bite, so please. Let me delve into this Galamsey matter and we'll come back into the studio for reflections. From amendment of LI 2462 to the seizure of excavators and the blocking of imports, police raids, arrests. The question is, are we making any headway? And we have our guest joining the conversation as well on the back of that discovery of a filling station in the heart of a forest reserve in Akomfre in the Ashanti region. Awula Sewa joins the conversation. She is with Eco-Conscious Citizens. Awula, a very good morning to you.
Well, your listeners, thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure having you. How do you react to the fight against Galamsey? The government talks about reclaiming 8 out of 9 forest reserves. so many arrests, excavators seized, and now we find a filling station in the heart of a forest reserve. What's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that, yes, some steps are being taken. We have to be gracious and not act as if nothing is being done. But the problem we face, we're on the verge of a catastrophe. Yes, we've taken a few steps, but is it sufficient? Is it a drop in the ocean? We have asked for a state of emergency. Recently, the Catholic Bishops' Conference have also added their voice. You see, we're on the verge of a catastrophe. So we need to take the bull by its horns now. We cannot afford to dilly-dally. And if I might add, we had asked for the LI 2462 to be revoked, which was a low-hanging fruit. The president had promised whilst in opposition that he would do that. We are in June, it hasn't been done. The communications minister, Honorable Sami Jamfi, promised that when Parliament resumed, this would be done. As far as I'm aware, nothing has been laid before Parliament to revoke, not amend LI 2462. And I have to say that this is quite disappointing because it's a low-hanging fruit and does go to credibility.
The explanations that have been given so far, the explanations on some clauses within LI 2462 and how this cannot be, en masse, do they hold any water for you? And how much, we've had this conversation time and again. What do you think you as, civil society organizations can do to aid government get to that point of actually repealing LI 2462? Apart from criticizing it, what more can you do?
You see, it's not just criticizing. We have explained to the government why it's a bad piece of legislation. And to be fair, the current president himself realizing that's why he said, and I'm sure it was not just politicking, he said that when he came to power, if it hadn't been done, he would revoke it. So the question to be asked should be, why has this not been done? And I go back to Sami Jamfi. He said that they had looked at all the arguments and had come to the conclusion that LI 2462 had to be revoked and that they would do it immediately they came to power. The recording is there, one can play. So one must ask oneself, why has this not been done? Is it because the current Attorney General was chair of the committee that came up with LI 2462? I do not know. But what we do know, what civil society does know, is that it is a bad piece of legislation, mainly because it virtually allows unfettered access to our forest reserves. In the previous regulations, you could only mine on 2% of production forest reserves. With the LI 2462 as it stands, you have virtually unfettered access to our forest reserves. And all that has been done with the amendment is to remove the authority the president had to allow mining in globally significant biodiversity area. It's a good thing, but it doesn't go to the heart of the matter. We need the whole LI revoked because it's not fit for purpose. And then there are other demands. We have asked for a state of emergency. The Catholic Bishops' Conference has added its voice. Recently, the Academy of Arts and Sciences had a conference. The point was also made. We cannot today go to one forest reserve, find a petrol station there, arrest people, tomorrow run to another forest reserve. The situation is dire, and we need to have robust action being taken. A targeted state of emergency. Ask everybody, leave our forest reserves and water bodies. So when the military comes there and finds you there, there's no excuse whatsoever for what could happen because you were asked to leave and you chose to be there.
You make it sound very simple. We know how convoluted, how complicated the situation is. Do we want it to end because we are all at risk? Yes. But you talk about these instances. For example, I was shocked to the marrow of my bones. I'd never heard of a filling station in a forest reserve. Now we know that there's some such thing. I don't know what it will take because Lampoon, I've done that, you've done that. The question is, how does this end? What's the end game?
You see, there is an end game. I mean, our contacts within the military have said that. What we need is the political will, no political interference. You see, it's as difficult or as easy as you want it to be. Nobody is saying that we go Rambo style and then one day it's over. No, but you need to have a plan. You talked about being surprised about a filling station in a forest reserve. There was in Wa, in Wa, a petrol station was being built on Parks and Gardens land. I would say that building it in a forest reserve is merely an escalation. We look at what is happening in our wetlands, in our Ramsar sites. We find buildings on our Ramsar sites. We know how vital and critical Ramsar sites are. So there's a complete break of compliance. Duty bearers fail to enforce laws and regulations. Whether we are allergic to enforcement or not, I do not know. But if we decide today that we are going to enlist the armed forces, we're going to declare a state of emergency, there's not going to be any political interference. It doesn't matter where the axe falls, it's going to fall there. Believe me, we can end this matter sooner rather than later. But if we continue as we are, today, this, tomorrow, that, I'm afraid we'll be here until the house burns completely. We are on the verge of a catastrophe. How more seriously can I put it? Our water bodies are being poisoned. Water is life. Our food is being compromised. Our forest reserves are being completely destroyed. And then the existential terrorists are taking over parts of our forest reserves. And we don't want to sink, as I've been saying, like a sport record, to the level of some Latin American countries, where in those cases, the drug cartels control parts of the area. And we are coming to that. We are coming to that. We are seeing how the illegal miners had the audacity to try and prevent the duty bearers from arresting some Chinese, well, they had arrested them, but from taking away the Chinese, illegal miners. I mean, what kind of situation is this? So we need to act promptly, declare a state of emergency. I believe that our armed forces are up to the task. They are ready for the task. We have professionals who can do this.
We need robust action, but something that I believe is a disappointment for you as much as it is for me is that element of the act, what it says, Minerals and Mining Act, and other related issues about people involved in illegal mining, foreigners, I mean, and how to deal with them, and how we are still sticking to this position of deporting them. Because you look at these Chinese, who have been apprehended now, they were asked about whether they were involved, knew anything about the filling station. They said no, and all of that. But here are these people destroying our country in different ways, and they get to go back home. What do you make of it?
This is unacceptable, and it's also discriminatory, and we have said it over and over again. It is also against the law. Any person, Ghanaian, non-Ghanaian, who is involved in destroying our environment, involved in illegal mining, the law says they should be arrested and prosecuted. The law hasn't said that if they are foreign nationals, they should be deported. I mean, what kind of message are you sending? What you're actually saying is that come to Ghana, you can destroy our environment, and then we'll give you a free ticket back home. And
it does say they should be deported, but before the deportation,
they must serve time. We are saying that.
Right.
I was fast forwarding. We are saying that they should be deported after serving their sentence. And also, we should have the polluter pays principle. So where possible, recover any assets they have and use them to, reclaim the land. What we are saying is that you can't just come, destroy our forest reserves, and then you remove the prosecution, you are deported, and then you may come back a la Aisha Huang. So what message are we sending to prospective illegal miners?
Interesting thoughts. Any add-ons you'd like to bring to bear before we cap it off at your end? Any final thoughts?
I would just like to
that reminds me, Awula, my apologies. In your final bit, what the president has said about excavators, now we are being told that a lot of excavators are coming into the country. In fact, if you listen to what the transport minister has said, and now they are saying if you're bringing an excavator, there must be certain processes that must be clearly followed. Government has directed all importers to obtain permits from the Ministry of Transport before shipping excavators, effective immediately under a new no permit, no excavator policy. And they have also, spoken about the numbers of excavators coming into the country. It's huge. I'm just looking for the exact. It's quite a number of excavators that are being. Yes. So he says we receive over 200 excavators daily. That's the transport minister, and he speaks. It's alarming at the Tema port. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, of course, it's alarming, but for heaven's sake, can we not pause the importation of excavators? You see, you're going to talk about a permit, you're going to do this. We know very well that our monitoring regime is virtually non-existent. Look at small-scale mining. We've issued permits like confetti, and we cannot monitor. So a lot of these small-scale miners, not all of them, a lot of them, what they are doing is illegal mining, and we are unable to monitor. So since our monitoring regime is weak, I would say that for now, pause the importation of excavators. We have too many in the country. Just pause them, because all they'll do is find their way to our forest reserves and destroy the remaining forest reserves we have. I don't see the difficulty in that. Those that are in the country, they have to be tagged so that we know where they are going. You see, there are simple solutions we can take rather than lamenting. I'm tired of lamentations. The lamentations have had their place. We need to take robust action today, because you see, we're reaching the point of no return. And may I add that all over the place, our environment is being destroyed, whether it's because of illegal mining, whether it's because of building on Ramsar site, whether it's building on our waterways, our parks and gardens. And that's why we've asked for an audit of all parks and gardens land, which hasn't been done yet. You see, we face a disaster and we need to act promptly.
Right.
Take the bull by the horn, declare a state of emergency. It can be done. It can be done.
Thank you, Awula Sewa. She's coordinator, Eco-Conscious Citizens. Thank you so much for doing us the honor, speaking to us this morning. Have a wonderful holiday.
And the same.
Barka de Sallah. Anyway, so if you look at, again, what the Transport Minister has said, 1,200 excavators await clearance at the Tema Port. Over 3,000 more are en route to the country. 1,200 await clearance and they are holding on, and 3,000 more are on their way into the country. Is it for construction or for destruction? that's the question. Let me just add, on the Ramsar sites, at least in recent times, we saw that, I think in the Weja area, on the back of the spillage and all of that, structures were pulled down, those that were on the buffers. So something is being done, something I've not seen in a long time, but a lot more action has to be done. Quick reflections on Galamsey. Andy, I will start with you.
See, I know what I'm going to say will be a bit unpopular, but it needs to be said. About the huge influx of excavators coming is because of the gold board.
It's because of the gold board?
Yes.
Okay, how so?
Yeah, so you see, see, an argument can be made. See, an argument can be made that really the gold board, beyond anything else, will also fund Galamsey. Because, you see, my personal view, I think this is also the view of the movement. And because of the threat and the lapses in regulation, the proper thing for government to have done was to have banned what's called small-scale mining in its entirety. You understand? For them to put their house in order.
Small-scale mining?
Yeah.
They have been vehemently against any such.
Yeah, but so no, so this is my view. Now, you have a situation where the Director General, the Chairman, or the CEO of the gold board is saying that they do not have mechanisms in place to trace the source of the gold they buy, and that they'll put in place such mechanisms until 3 to 5 years' time. Now, what this means is that they are not in a position to know whether the gold they're purchasing is from Galamsey site or is from proper mining sites. Now, with this massive gold purchasing program they are doing, they may actually be giving Galamseyers the real resources to even do it as in deeper. You understand? Because see, if really you want to fight Galamsey and fight Galamsey war, then I think that as much as the gold board is maybe a good strategy, and I'm using the may here deliberately, I feel that creating a system that can trace the source of the gold should have been a condition precedent before, because you see, once they do that, then the gold board can also be a mechanism to deal with the Galamsey, because then nobody will be buying your gold, the gold from Galamsey. But if you do not have that thing in place, and where we are, because we are on the brink of in fact, some of us think that
we're already in catastrophe.
Yeah, the Galamsey issue is a war, in my opinion, a war being waged against Ghana. And so it must be dealt with as if you were dealing with a war.
Awula Sewa compares it to, the drug situation in some South America.
No, but the war is even worse than, because you see, when you are in a state of war, it's one of the few instances where you can give the president unfettered powers.
Right.
You understand? Some of us feel that the Galamsey issue in Ghana here is akin to a war being waged against Ghana. Yes, so you don't deal with it like you're dealing with any normal situation. In this very radical actions.
Please wrap on the point.
Yeah. So, yes, I feel that, so let me reiterate my point. I feel that the way the government is dealing with it, for me, will even fuel more than I'm saying than, because the global thing will even give them more resources to do the Galamsey in a better manner than
But how will they get resources to them?
I'm saying that, so right now you have a situation, you have a gold, but that's deliberately buying gold. But they do not have a mechanism to trace the source of the gold. So the gold they are buying...
So as you buy from these people,
from these
you are giving them resources they need to grow their business.
Further. And so
if you read the act, so to speak, of Gold Board and how it means to operationalize the different checks and all of that, do those not give you any comfort?
Insofar as the countries, because the key is trace, and he himself, I listened to his interview, and they have plans to create that system.
But once that element isn't not there yet, you think it's...
Yeah, because then you'll be buying, you don't know the source of the gold.
Amanda, quick thoughts on this. I want us to delve into a few other issues before we...
Very quick thoughts. I mean, I think like the lady just said, who spoke, that we're reaching the point of no return. And no return means we have to look at it like, for instance, even animals in the world. There are certain animals that are extinct because, we just can't recreate them anymore. There are certain animals, there's only 5 of them in the world. So reaching a point of no return in Ghana's Galamsey fight is our forestry, our water bodies, everything being so devastatingly affected that it can't be repaired. And so war against Galamsey, the best way for me in terms of fighting a war is to introduce better practices, because everything you fight against seems to double and triple and so forth. Right. So the best way to tackle a fight or a war is to introduce more, proactive things. So for instance, if we're getting rid of LI 2462, as the government has promised, this new government also has to realize that everything is like a tick list or a goals list. People elected them because they promised to tick off this goals list. And this is a main point that is very easy to tackle because everybody is well aware of the issues and what is it going to be replaced by. For instance, forests that are protected by updated, stricter laws, legal harmony, enforcing clearer and stronger rules, and communities becoming key stakeholders in decision-making. This is what needs to be done. And so any government that's going to survive past the next 4 years, all they literally have to do is tick off that list of all the things they said they would do, including with the Galamsey fight, which is a main policy. And before you know it, they could be re-elected. You see what I mean? But you can't, neglect the people who got you there because they really thought you were going to do this.
Kwame Nkrumah, quick thoughts.
As the Sergeant for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, action without thought is empty. Thought without action is blind. Whichever action we're going to take, it has to work for the long term. Banning excavators may not help because some may want the excavators for their own. I mean, the 3,000.
They're saying if you're bringing it in, you must get express permission from the Transport Ministry.
Exactly.
You must get a permit.
Exactly. So there should be a method of certifying what you are going to use it for. And what we are facing now, it has security implications. We must not forget the Sierra Leone issue and the blood diamonds and all over, which the Kimberley process helped to, sort out. this Kimberley process, one of their fundamental principles was burden sharing of participants. That means it's not only the state or the institutions that were handling it. It was everybody around was involved. There are so many ways that we can stop this Galamsey menace, and one of them is repealing the LI 2642. Once 2462. Once it's still on the books, I don't know how we are going to go ahead with this. And we also need to have a sort of suspension of this small-scale mine, at least for a while, to figure out what to do. Just a suspension. Yeah.
We have just about 2 minutes left. I'll read captions from a number of issues. You can pick only one story to react to. So, June 3 floods. I read, pupils of the Ofankor St. Peter's Anglican School, who, when it rains, they have to study school, in ponds, so to speak. Then the ban on plastic products. The president has spoken about styrofoam. For this one, I mean, it's something that we should have. I don't know, but that is also in there. And then gold for oil. The Bank of Ghana says it's recorded a 1.82 billion Ghana cedi loss on the program in 2024, nearly 500% higher than the 317 million loss in 2023. And that the bank loses 45% of its 4.69 billion seed capital injected into the program in 2 years. And finally, that it has recorded 9.41 billion Ghana cedi loss in 2024. So they are bringing it to an end. Quick thoughts on this. 30 seconds. Let's go. I'll start with you, Amanda. 30 seconds, strictly. 30 seconds. Let's go.
I think there were lessons to be learned with the gold for oil. For instance, government had to meet certain targets. And so I think they were buying gold at a really high price from some key stakeholders. And I know this, personally, just because they were trying to meet those demands. And so it is for perhaps the gold board to also learn from that in terms of it's a great policy to oversee our gold in this country.
How it's done.
Yes, but to just make sure we don't fall into that shortfall that the gold for oil did. And for instance, we don't get to the position where we're so desperate, we're buying it at a higher rate.
Thank you. Andy, which one will you pick?
I think he should ask for a total ban of all plastics. Not just
all plastics.
All plastics, yeah.
All right.
I'll take the last one, so there'll be a balance. The June 3rd flood, as I've stated before, that day, my life and the lives of many people were saved by these street children, these windscreen wipers, who formed a human chain around Fadama. So today, when KMJ was there, brought back memories. Yeah. Let's not neglect these boys who are addicted to red and other things. Let's help them. Let's help them, and then bring them along. The future of this country is the youth. Let's give them the needed attention.
Thank you so much. One issue that we don't have time to get into, the president saying that he will not interfere in corruption-related cases. At some point, we'll get to talk about that. But those who joined us for the conversation, Amanda Clinton, Head of Chambers, Clinton Consultancy, Andrew Appiah-Dankwa, lawyer and spokesperson, Movement for Change, a.k.a. Abiggy. And Kwame Nkrumah Botio, he's a lawyer and General Secretary with the CPP, a.k.a. Andy, join me, a.k.a.
Kobash.
Honorable Kobash.
Honorable Kobash.
We have to give a nickname to Amanda so that we can do this properly.
I'll find one for you.
Thank you so much for joining. Stick and stay. We'll be back with more action on the AM show. Welcome back on the AM show. Now, you may have heard about that energy sector levy and the add-on of 1 Ghana cedi as now passed by the majority in Parliament. But the question remains, the commercial transport operators, how are they taking it? They are demanding an immediate reversal, and they are saying if that does not happen, well, on the 10th day of this month, they are actually going to lay their tools down, or basically set aside their vehicles into Anjao. That's what they are saying. We have a report on the back of this, and then after that, we'll come into the studio and interact with Samuel Amwa, Deputy PRO of the GPRTU. But watch this first.
GPRTU argues that the levy will significantly increase operational costs for transport operators, coming on the heels of a recent reduction in fares. According to the union, this move will further strain the livelihoods of drivers and exacerbate the financial burdens on the transport industry. Imo Abbas is the Industrial Relations Officer of the union.
This levy, which is coming on the heels of the recent reduction in transport fares, will significantly increase operational costs, resulting in loss of income, which will affect our livelihood and the general public. In the event that our call is not heeded to, we will be compelled to take industrial action and park our vehicles on June 10th, 2025.
If the strike goes ahead as planned, it could disrupt public transportation across the country, affecting commuters and businesses that rely on their services. The GPRT is demanding a reconsideration of the levy, emphasizing the need for policies that support rather than increase operational costs and hinder the transport sector's growth.
And if it's going to be slashed by 1 cedi on a litre, do you know how a professional driver value pesos on liters? Even if 20 pesos is reduced on fuel, we have a lot of deep grief.
But beyond the transportation sector, concerns are also emerging about the broader impact of the levy on other aspects of the economy. CEO of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies says the levy is simply throwing more money at a system that is structurally broken.
You are thinking of 1 cedi, but it won't be a 1 cedi impact. It will be more than 1 cedi. You're looking around 1 cedi, 20 pesos because of the operational cost that will come with it.
Meanwhile, co-chair of the Ghana Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, Dr. Steve Mantel, has raised concerns over the absence of a sunset clause in the bill. He says without a clear end date, the levy could become permanent, just like other so-called temporary taxes that were never repealed.
A sunset clause would have given us that assurance, because all the fears people and then the misgivings people have about this 1 cedi additional levy is as a result of the fact that in the past, government has not kept faith with the citizens.
The situation remains tense and negotiations between transport operators and the government are yet to yield any resolution. Commuters and stakeholders are advised to prepare for potential disruption starting June 10, 2025, as the strike could have far-reaching implications for daily life and economic activities.
Joining me in the studio on the back of that, Samuel Amwa is Deputy PR of the GPRTU. Mr. Amwa, good morning.
Ben.
It's been a while. Good to see you again.
Hope you're good.
I am well.
You are looking good.
Thank you. So are you. I mean, I love your outfit. It's really nice. Let's get to, reach for the jugular straight up. How did you receive this news about 1 Ghana cedi being slapped on a litre of fuel?
Thank you, Ben. Let me just use this opportunity to say good morning to you and your viewers, and to my national chairman, Nanani Makubresiama, my national vice, Neo Kantakra, and all the entire executives. Yes, when we had this information of 1 Ghana cedi levy on every litre of petroleum products that we buy, it was like a big blow to us. Why am I saying this? Because 1 Ghana cedi on every litre is not a small money, and checking on all the other levies and margins on the petroleum products, this is the highest so far. Because checking on it, we got energy debt recovery levy that is only 49. That is 49 pesos.
Right.
So we were like, why is the government coming out with this 1 Ghana cedis on a litre? It means that if a driver buys, 1 gallon cedis, it means the driver is paying 4 cedis, 50 pesos and it's at the higher side. It's something that is going to...
When a driver buys what?
A gallon of fuel.
A gallon of fuel.
Right. He pays 4 cedis, 50 pesos. So we were like, why would it be that the government will, come out with this without even having any, stakeholder engagement with, a transport body, the transport operators? So we were like, no, if something like that will happen, then it means it's going to, bring more burden, on our drivers. Why am I saying this? Quite recently, we were asked to reduce our transport fares by 15%. Even by then, looking at the only fuel reduction, if we are to look into only the fuel reduction, we wouldn't have even reduced it by the 15%. And we had this agreement with the transport ministries that they are going to talk to the other components, the spare parts dealers, the lubricants and others, for them to also reduce. That is why we even agreed to reduce it by 15%. So even as I'm speaking to you now, all these components are still the same. And we are even planning to meet the government again to talk about this, that reducing our transport fares by 15% is now, disturbing the drivers, is giving us another burden, and that they should look into it and maybe still compel those that sell the spare parts and others to also reduce their staffs. For us to only hear that, another levy has been imposed on the petroleum product, we didn't get it easily. So we, the drivers, we thought, the government, it's not fair to us, because if you want to bring in something that the drivers will pay, why, are you not considering the driving sector by engaging them to give them further, or deep understanding, deep explanation into this 1 Ghana cedi that you are bringing in? So that is why, even yesterday, we had a press conference and we took our decision that the government should just take a second look at this whole thing, make sure that 1 Ghana cedi will be scrapped off. Then he who has to engage, the transport sector, the leadership of the transport operators, to give us further explanations so that we also, bring in our input. We also share our concerns with them before, something of that sort can happen. Else, if the government failed to do that, then it means, it's not being fair with us. And it's like we can't be running at a loss. And it means that we have to park our vehicles on the 10th. Right.
So we'll get into that. Let me just let our viewers also know that in the course of this interaction, we shall activate the phone lines, especially as it's a holiday, for you to share your thoughts with us on whether you think this move by the drivers' unions is justified, or whether other alternatives could be looked at. So stick and stay close to your phones. When we activate the phone lines in a bit, we'll let you know. You talk about the double whammy that you're facing.
Sure.
You reduced in recent times, and then, this came up. Were you aware, though, that this bit was in the budget that was presented by the finance minister? Were you aware of it?
No.
You were not aware?
No, I'm not aware.
Are you now getting to know that it was in the budget?
Well, yes, we are now getting to know it, but we thought that bringing it now, they should have engaged us to give us further explanation, because I don't think that, they came out in the budget that they are adding, or they are levying, they are levying 1 Ghana cedi, or they are, putting another 1 Ghana cedi on as a levy on the petroleum product. No, we didn't get that information.
It was in the budget, of course, not stipulated directly how much would be involved,
sure.
But it was in there. And the energy sector levy itself is not new. So this is an add-on.
That's right. That's right.
Of course, slapping 1 cedi on 1 litre comes at a cost to everybody. To you, the drivers, to the ordinary person who will go and, board public transport and all of that. But I have a quick question. In recent times, when you came to some agreement, some would even say it was low based on how much especially diesel prices had dropped, then petrol prices, and then inflation. Inflation has hit the lowest in 3 years. Among other dynamics, people felt you should have lowered it more. But you agreed on 15%. But even the 15% per our checks is not being adhered to. How do you react to that?
If I get you right, it means that the 15%, the drivers are not complying. Is that what you mean?
They are not complying.
Yes, some of them.
I know a place where I think it was 8 cedis 50 pesos, as corroborated by someone who works here with me. And the person says it has fallen to 8 cedis. Now, if it was 8 cedis, for example, I think the 15% component would be about 1 cedi 20 pesos, even if it was 8 cedis.
Yeah, sure.
And a lot of the people where it should have been 1 cedi 20 pesos, they were rather charging 7 cedis. So 20 pesos had gone in there. So if it's 850, you see the dynamics.
Yes,
You're already not even doing exactly what.
Yes, I get you right. You see, Ben, when we went to the Transport Ministry to have this, negotiation on the reduction of the transport fare, we made them understood that it was only the fuel product that has been reduced by 18%. And whenever we go for these negotiations, every percentage on every component has to be divided by 3. So the 18% has to be divided by 3. Then it means that we got only 6% from there. Checking on the other component where they're still the same. All right. So if like we were supposed to, stick only by the petrol product reduction, then it means that the transport sector has to reduce their fares only by 6%. But per the explanation and per the promise the ministry gave us that the other components also are yet to come down. And very soon, all these components are going to come down. That is why we agreed with the 15%. So now, some of the areas that some of the drivers are not doing exactly 15%. We are finding it very difficult to compel them to come down to that level because they know very well that the promise we gave them that all the other components will also come down, the promise has failed. And that is one thing we're even planning to go and meet, the sector minister to talk to him about this before this issue of 1 Ghana cedi also came in.
Okay, so let's just look at some of the dynamics. If you look at the fuel price drops in 2025, petrol at the start of the year was selling from, and it had been higher. Diesel at a point hit even 2021.
Yes,
do you remember?
Yes, true. Yeah.
We had conversation.
Yes, we had conversation on that.
Petrol at the start of 2025 was selling for 14 cedis 99 pesos per liter.
Per liter, sure.
Averagely. The current price is 12 cedis and 52 pesos per liter. That means the price of petrol has gone down by 2 cedis 47 pesos.
That's correct.
If you look at diesel, it was selling at the start of the year at 15 cedis and 60 pesos per liter.
60, sure.
Now the current bid is 12 cedis and 92 pesos per liter. That means it has also fallen by 2 cedis and 68 pesos. So if you now you slap on the 1 Ghana cedi, 1 cedi plus 12.52 will give you 13.52 per liter for petrol, and on diesel, 1 cedi added will give you 13 cedis and 92 pesos. Both are still lower. If you look at 14.99 at the start of the year for petrol and 13.52, even when you add on the 1 Ghana cedi, you are still saving maybe somewhere around 1 cedi 40 pesos per liter. And same can be done 15.60 for diesel, now 13.92 even after this is added. These permutations have also been made. How do you respond?
Ben, when we had our increment, the past increment that we had, by then the fuel price was around 12 cedis, 69 pesos when we increased our transport fares, all right? So, after increasing the transport fares, it started going up. Even it went up more than the 10% threshold that we were supposed to, have our increment. If you could remember, around December, even concerned drivers even came up with, 20% increment, and GPRTU stepped in that, they should come down because from where we are and the promises that we are having that the fuel price will come down and all that, they should relax. This, when we entered into January, then fuel price started coming down. Yet we understand very well that fuel prices has dropped down, and now we have come back to the around 12 cedi, per liter that we used to increase our transport fare by then. All right. Then it means that we have come back to where we were. So if 1 Ghana cedi is going to be added to it again, then it means there is the need for us to also adjust our transport fares again based on the records that we are following. So it's not like, you know, it was around 15 thereabout and now it is 12. Because of that, we are saving money. No, we had our records. We checked from when we did our increment and when it got to and when it has come down again. So per our calculations and per the records we are having, then it means that we are not saving anything.
But you do realize, Mr. Amwa, there are times too where per the very permutations you gave, when prices started falling, it's a composite that you look at, you know, lubricants, spare parts, fuel prices. At least some of them on the market have seen some decrements. And you also buy things out there. Some things have gone down in price, even per the inflationary bits we are seeing there. In those moments where there were calls for a decrement in the transport fares, you didn't decrease them until now.
Ben, it has happened before.
No, I'm saying that. Do you remember the conversations we were having?
Yeah.
When the increments kept coming and all of that. But when the tide started turning and the public and even institutions were calling for a decrement, it did not happen for a long time. This is the first increment in how long?
Yes, it's been a long time since we had our reduction. All right. You see, we normally work with a percentage, a threshold percentage. That is why we normally say that the agreement we had with the Transport Ministry is that, you know, anytime the fuel price will rise up to 10%, then there is the need for us to come on a round table to, you know, discuss on our transport fare increments. So we use the fuel price as the main target. That will push us for a negotiation. Then we check on the other component. All right. So if it has not gotten to where it's supposed to be discussed, then, you know, sometimes, yes, our clients will be calling for reduction, and because they are not with us and they are not with the ministry.
That is not necessarily what always happens. There have been times where fuel prices have gone down by 10%, but the claim of the drivers' unions was that, but it is only the fuel price. Other things may be. So let's not use that as a yardstick, because we know that
Ben,
there are times it has gone below.
Ben, that is why that is why I was just saying that, like, if we were supposed to look only into the fuel product, all right, we wouldn't have even reduced it by this 15% margin that we just reduced. I got to my point. Yeah. So then it means that, you know, we sacrifice. We did this, you know, just to sacrifice for our clients, for the nation, thinking that the other component will also do same. But as I'm speaking to you now, Ben, you drive and you buy tires. None of them, you know, have reduced, you know, their staffs. If you go to the market out there, it's still the same. We're buying engine oil for 250 Ghana cedis per gallon. It's still the same. The tires that we buy is still the same. Everything is still the same. We do have discussions with the spare parts dealers. You know, their PRO, Techiado, you know, is my very good friend. We do push them. All that they are saying is, they bought the old stocks and now they are clearing the old stocks, and before they can, you know, check on or look into it before they can do some reduction and all that. But time are going, you see. So drivers now, we are at a tight corner. And if you sit down for government to also come in to impose this 1 Ghana cedi on every litre, then it's at the higher side. 1 Ghana cedis. It means that if I'm a driver, I'm a taxi driver, and I buy maybe 50 litres to do my rounds a day, it means I'm paying 50 Ghana cedis. Like that 50 Ghana cedis will do something for me if I have to keep it. Nowadays, this is the same business we do to pay electricity, to pay water, to take care of our children and all that. This is the small monies we gather before, you know, we'll be able to do all this. And if government will not consider and, you know, come in with 1 Ghana cedis on every litre, and we are saying that, you know, if like discussion or maybe stakeholder consultation will come in, we will also come in with our input, you know, explain some certain things for them to understand. If they have to reduce or if they have to shift it to, you know, any other areas, then we get our understanding. But for them to just come and impose on us just like that, we can't take it. We can't take it.
You can't take it. Let me let you know as well that we've activated the phone lines, and you know the number to call, 0302 211 691, 0302 211 691. 691. Let's know what your take is on the 1 Ghana cedi that has been slapped on, whether you drive your own vehicle, and what you think the impact will be. Now, I've even heard Mr. President also talk about what this is meant to do, that it's not going to be business as usual. In the past, it's been said that the ESLA, for a 10-year period, the money apparently, from to all intents and purposes, was not used strategically for what it should have been used for. And so he's saying that this time around, there will be a shift and that money will help defray the debt we owe and sort out other things in the energy sector. But this is part of the cost. Are you willing to bear that cost? 1 Ghana cedi per litre. And if you are not using private transportation, you are using public transportation, well, the drivers' unions are also saying if something is not done about it, then on the 10th day of this month, they are downing their tools. They are not driving. Almost a monante. So what is your appreciation of it? How do you react? 0302-211-691. We have a first caller on the line. Mr. Amo, just hold for me. Eric, good morning. Eric in Kumasi, can you hear me, please?
Yeah, Ben, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Nice speaking to you this morning.
Thank you, sir. Eric, please go ahead. Go ahead with your thoughts, please. Okay, so Eric, I don't want to lose you. Your thoughts are important. Please, if you are listening to me on your TV or some other gadget, stop and just listen to me on the phone. Let's go. What are your thoughts? Oh, Eric, where the facha and why? So over to me, Frebium, si ahumano so the all right. 0302-211-691 is the number to call. 0302-211-691. Call. Let's hear from you. Let's know what you're thinking this holiday about the 1% add-on when it comes to the energy sector levy. What are your thoughts? Eric is back. Is it Eric from Kumasi one more time? Okay, so this is Eric from Cape Coast. Eric, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well, please. I hope you are too. Okay.
I just wanted to share my lesser thoughts on this 1 Ghana cedi levy on the fuel.
Right.
I think our leaders, none of us as citizens would have rebelled against this levy if indeed they are really accountable to us. Now look at the agenda for this particular levy, just to solve the energy sector, problem. Should they be accountable all this was to the later levies and then taxes they have been imposing on products, and then we wouldn't have rebuilt this. But over time, they have proven to us that the purpose for which these levies are collected are not directly used for it. That is the reason why we are rebelling against this.
Okay.
Fast forward, you posed a question to the gentleman on the online at the studio that over time, when the fuel prices reduces, it is very difficult for these transport operators to also reduce their fares. Now that the table has turned upside down, they want things to be the reverse to be done to them. I think at a point we also need to exercise cautiously. We also have to also contribute to that. When it reduces, they also have to reduce the margin so that we can also agree to their plea. This is my perspective.
Thank you for sharing that perspective on the AM show. And if you're minded to do so, you can also call that number 0302-211-691. I don't know whether you have any thoughts on this right before we pick our next call.
Yeah. I overheard him. You see, Ben, there are many times that other transport operators, other unions has come out with transport fare increment, and GPRTU has stopped them because we use calculations. All right, we have our team that normally goes out there to check on, percentages on the other component. They will bring their results before, we'll sit. Then we talk about it. We dialogue with, all the 16 regional officers before we arrive at a point. So it's not like we hear an information that fuel is coming down. Then straight away we just come in and we go by a reduction or something of that sort. We use calculations. That is why if they can check their records, there are many times that other unions says, oh, we are coming up. Even quite recently, there is a group called Alliance for Drivers or whatever.
Nowadays, your groups are many.
Hey, seriously. They came out with 20% increment. And we said, no, that's not the time for us to increase.
Okay.
So we go by our calculations.
Let's take Barnabas from Ashaiman. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Please, what are your thoughts for us?
I'm calling from Ashaiman.
Right.
And I have a question for the man in the studio.
Okay.
You know, when the levy was announced in the parliament, the minister said, and I quote, that the impact of the levy is going to be absorbed by the gains made by the city, and that the consumer will not have to pay extra at the pumps in the next pricing window.
Right.
So currently, for instance, at Star Oil, a liter of petrol is 11.77 pesos.
Right.
And we know it used to be around 16 cedis. So there is still a gain of about 4 cedis, 23 pesos.
Yes, but the point they also make, let me just add on. The point he's also making is that it's not just fuel they look at. They are looking at lubricants, spare parts, and other things that make the car move.
Okay.
Yes, you can go ahead. I just wanted to chip in that bit. You can go ahead.
Okay, so my question is that if in the next pricing window, the fuel prices are going to remain the same, then on what basis, you know, because I know that even though they consider other things, a huge factor is the fuel price. Right. So if the price is going to remain the same, then I don't see the need for them to want to increase their price again.
Okay. Thank you so much, Barnabas from Ashaiman, for sharing your thoughts. So far, Mr. Amwa, there are two people who have called and they all disagree with you.
Yes,
they say, Charlie, you guys. And I also hear that at most of the stations, you know, usually old price, new price.
Yeah,
you put it up when the price decreases.
Sure.
A lot of your entities, trotro stations, taxi ranks are not doing that. All you see is a new price, and you can't even see the old one to calculate whether what is happening. That sheet is not pasted at the...
Yeah, we do receive some of these complaints. You know, before these reductions will come out, the national officers, we did our calculation, the old and the new. Then we send it to our various, you know, regional officers for them to also, you know, distribute it down to their branches. And the expectation is that, like we used to do, that is what they are supposed to do. So there are some areas when we have this information that, you know, some of the drivers don't do that. We quickly, you know, step in and, you know, we will ask them to do that.
So that's something you're working on. Let's go to Dawenya. Obed is there. And if you live on that stretch, I used to work on that stretch, Charlie, driving through the traffic and everything, you know, be joke. Obed, what are your thoughts?
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, sir.
Please, I want to ask the gentleman there that if you have been giving 16 cedis all the time as a charge to be paying, and you've been taking away 4 cedis, and now you've been adding people paying at interest to help us from a problem, you are now going away with it. Or you take it that you go with the 16 cedis again, which one would you like?
All right. I guess that's a question. Are you done, Obed?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. So a lot of people seem to be thinking, look, you can talk about all these dynamics, but if you were paying as high as 20 cedis, 21 cedis for diesel, because most of you use diesel, you don't use petrol. Most of you use diesel. And now it's fallen to where it is. Should you be really complaining?
Ben.
And I'm only re-echoing what they are saying.
Yeah, I understand. Ben, you see, when the fuel price got to where it was, we were supposed to increase our transport fares, right? But we didn't do that.
Right.
Based on, you know, the informations that we had that we should come down and very soon fuel price will come down. Yes, fuel price has come down. That is why we reduce it, all right? Like supposing the fuel price came down and we didn't reduce, then they have a point. But this time around, fuel price is down, and because it's down, we have reduced, our transport fares by 15%. And I said it here that, like, supposing we focus only on the petroleum product, we wouldn't have even reduced it by 15%. Then we should have reduced it only by 6%. But we did 15%. I get my point. So what I want them to understand is that it's not like the thing was 15 and now it is 12. We have about 3 cedis and now they say we should pay 1 cedi. We are not charging the same. Now we have reduced the transport fare. And one thing that we also want them to understand is that we are asking the government that we are major stakeholders. We are going to, pay, this 1 Ghana cedi. So all that we needed, I overheard, the other caller saying that he quoted Honorable Atoforsen that, consumers are not going to be affected. Or if you go to the fuel station to go and buy the fuel, you will not be affected with this 1 Ghana cedis and all this. Yes, you see, with all this, call a stakeholder meeting.
Hold it right there. That stakeholder meeting. I'll come back to you. Let's go to Soweto. Ken is on the phone. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
What are your thoughts for us?
Yes, I feel that the transport owners are justified.
Okay.
On the basis that we all know the prices of this thing are caused by the demands and the supplies of the CD. And what we know is that the government told us that when they were coming to make life better. We have 1 CD on e-levy. If you don't do that transactions, you don't pay. For those on the betting tax, if you don't bet, you don't pay. You remove such things, and now you are burdening everybody, including every Ghanaian. The market women, when they are sending their goods to market, it's because of the charges that the drivers give them. That's what influences their prices in the market. So all these things will add up to the cost of produce in the market, and by virtue, every Ghanaian will benefit from the increase in price. So I feel that government should be magnanimous with us and reduce and take off that 1 cedi on every liter. Every liter. So nobody goes to buy $1 of fuel at the fuel station, no, or 1 liter, no. You go, you buy like 2 gallons, 3 gallons, and you are paying such huge amount on it. It's too much for us to pay.
Thank you, Ken from Soweto. You were talking, Mr. Amar, about that stakeholder meeting.
Yes. What I was saying was that, you see, when the government, want us to reduce our transport fares, they call on us, all right? We had a meeting. They explained to us why we should reduce our transport fares. We also explained ourselves to them. We also told them our challenges, our problems. Then we put our heads together. Then we came up with a 15%, all right?
Is that to say so far you've not had any interactions with
Never.
the establishment?
Never.
Up to now?
Never.
No interaction?
Never. That is our major problem. That is our major worries, all right? So call us to a meeting. Explain to us. Like they are saying that it will not affect the pump. We don't know. How is it not going to affect the pump? We have no idea about it, all right? So supposing you call us to a meeting, explain things for us, right?
Like I
we
said,
also understand.
This was in the budget, but 1 cedi, that's the component
that is it.
Are you willing to negotiate on the 1 cedi?
Yes, if they call us to a meeting, at least we also, come up with our concerns. All right, and I believe at the end of the day, maybe we'll agree on something that will help both of us.
50%, 70%.
Something, yes, because see, if you check on the taxes and levies on the petroleum product, this is the highest so far.
Okay, hold for me. I'll come back to that point of the highest so far. We have a call on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning.
Please, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Dawinia.
Okay, what's your name?
Ruben. Yeah, Ruben. Or Ellie from Dawinia.
Right, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, please, one thing I would like to add up is the dealers, the spare parts dealers. all the retailers in Ghana are the main cause of this.
Okay.
If you could bear with me, when dollar rise one, they increase one. When dollar rise one, they increase one. But when it begins to decrease, they are saying they have old stocks. What is affecting us?
Yeah.
So I think something has to be done with about that. And one thing too, I think this levy is an old levy we are paying. It's just increment. So I think I took one thing I've made a mistake that they're introducing one CDE levy. It's supposed to be like increment and an old levy. Well, that's to understand that
no one has said it's but thank you for your thoughts, Ruben. Like I said, it's a levy that has been in existence, but they are increasing it. So far, there are 3 people who say they don't side with you and this strike. There's one person who says you deserve to, not the strike, but you deserve to, get some clarity on the matter. You were about to make a point.
Yes, I was making a point. I was saying that checking on the taxes and the margins on the petroleum product, we have about 13, all right? The highest so far is energy debt recovery levy, that is 49 pesos. And energy sector levy is 20 pesos. Now they are adding 1 Ghana cedi to that. This is energy sector levy, right? So it means that we are going to pay 1 cedi 20 pesos on energy sector levy because it was already 20 pesos. This is the highest so far. All right, and that is what we are saying. Like the other caller said, you see, some of our clients, our passengers, are thinking, this thing, they shouldn't think maybe drivers are fighting alone. All right, let's all think aloud and think about this 1 Ghana cedi on every liter. All right. It's at the higher side.
So if you go and purchase 40 liters, that is 40 cedis.
40 cedis.
Right. I mean, it's an impact all of us are going to feel. It's not just you, because when I also go to the filling station, I will have to pay the extra, right?
Yes.
But the component in there, like, I don't know how you feel about it. Some people will say, one, is a strike the only way of resolving this matter? Is that the only solution, right? And then, secondly, the president, among others, have said that this is a way. I remember Dr. Kwabena Donkor, former power minister, talking about the fact that this is not new. It's just a fix so that the power sector's liquidity crisis can be dealt with. Because if over time, the wrong things have been done with ESLA for 10 years, if we don't get it right at some point, we shall have to have Doomsaw and the rest. So it's a little sacrifice for everybody to. That's the explanation that has been given. How do you relate these two matters? One, is a strike the only solution? And contributing to solve a problem?
Yes,
what do you think?
We the driving sector, we think sometimes if we talk to the government, or we act on the about something, to the government, and they are not, hearing our voice, then we think, strike will be one of the solutions. All right. Let me bring you back to December 6, 2021. There was this issue of asking the government to scrap sanitation and pollution levy and some other levies. And they were not doing it. We decided to strike. We sat down for some few hours. Quickly, they call.
Okay, hold for me. Let me do my final caller, and then I'll come into the studio and wrap with you. I have Emmanuel on the line. Emmanuel, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Sunyani.
Sunyani, right.
Yes.
How is Sunyani this morning?
Oh, Sunyani is cozy.
Okay. What's your reaction to the conversation we're having?
Okay, I want to say, it's quite unfortunate that the taxpayers will have to always bail out the government, especially the energy sector in crisis. But we hope with assurance given by the president that the money be used for what it's supposed for, so that at least we get a relief in the energy crisis we're having. And secondly, with regards to what the drivers association are talking about.
Yes.
So now, what I heard from this conversation, he's saying they start with an increment in the petrol, then they factor other scenarios or factors before they increase their prices. So now I want to find out, so if their appreciation is being in the Ghana city, we being Ghanaians are being self-centered and, excuse my language, really that most Abosiokai or fair dealers are refusing to raise their prices because they have old stocks. So hopefully, with appreciation gain, and let's say in a couple of months to come, they import new stocks with their current dollar, and they're able to decrease their prices to where it's appreciable. Will the drivers come back and say, oh, now the spare parts have been reduced? Would they decrease their prices? Because already we've seen a reduction in their cost. So it's just the spare parts side and lubricants that they are saying there has not been changed in price. So they want to go use that one, and with the 1 city levy, they are still not in support, so they want to increase their price. What if during the period the spare part comes down, their price reduces?
Right.
Would they come back and increase their price? They won't, because in Ghana, we all know when there's already increase in dollar, drivers are the first person to come out, oh, let's increase. But to reduce, no. But his analogy he's giving, he's saying they use the pump, and because of there's no increase in the spare parts, they are not supporting the 1 cedi imposed on the 1 liter of petrol.
Right.
So I want to find out if, in case the spare parts also come down, would they still come back and say, okay, we are reducing it, going back
Thank
where
you.
it was initially?
Thank you, Emmanuel. He makes a forceful point there as well. I mean, let's face it, you are doing part of what the spare parts dealers also sometimes, I'm not saying all the time. Now, some will tell you that, oh, we have old stock. Give us 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. I remember the conversations we had to sell them off. Only God knows whether when they do sell off the old stock and new stock comes, they will use better prices. Do you get it? That's also there. And you know I'm speaking the truth.
Yes, I get it.
So he's also saying you may say this now, but if the spare parts prices go down, you are not going to be saying, oh, it has gone down, so let's bring it down. You will still maintain it where it is.
Ben, if you remember what I said earlier, was that, like, supposing we focus only on the petroleum product, the reduction we made was supposed to be 6%. We wouldn't have come to 15%. Right. All right? Based on, we did that based on
the other bits.
Yes, based on the agreement we had, and promise we had from them that they are going to reduce those stuffs. So today, if maybe today the spare parts dealers and the lubricants have reduced it, then it means that we are getting our 15% reduction. Are you getting it? But for now, they have not been fair to us, because we have now run at a loss. Because we were supposed to reduce by 6% per our calculation, and we did 15%, thinking that the spare parts dealers will also reduce theirs. And they have not done that, because they say they have old stocks, they want to clear the old stocks, bring in new stock before they can be able to reduce and all that. So if today they reduce it, we will not reduce our transport fares.
Okay.
Because now we have already done 15%. That we were supposed to do 6%, and we did 15%.
So just to cap off the conversation, you want a meeting?
Yes,
you
sure.
Want a stakeholder interaction?
Yes, stakeholder engagement.
Just to sum up the conversation, you want that stakeholder conversation. You are open to negotiating on the 1 city, right?
Yes.
That's what you said.
Per our release, what we are saying is that government should reverse that first. Second, call us to a meeting. Give us further explanations for us to also bring in our input.
Okay.
Before we come to understanding, then the implementation will also come in.
So as of now, as we sit here, if nothing changes on the 10th.
10th, yes. Then it means that all vehicles, including myself, because myself, I'll not even move to go and buy the fuel. We'll pack our vehicles. Even most of the private cars are even ready to join us.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Samuel Amwa is Deputy PRO of the GPRTU. He joined us for a conversation. Up next, I'll be serving you my blunt thoughts. Yes, Eid Mubarak, Barka de Salah, but still, we'll go blunt on it. And I'll be talking about institutionalized neocolonialism, an increased energy levy, and retreating inflation, summing it all up. You want to stick and stay for that. Don't you forget, E-Corner will also be coming your way on the show this morning. We'll be back after the break. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts, and today I'm talking about a composite of matters. I've titled it Institutionalized Neocolonialism, an Increased Energy Levy and Retreating Inflation, summing it all up. Institutionalized neocolonialism, an increased energy levy, and retreating inflation, summing it all up. I elected to start with this today because I feel it is so unfair. We are the brunt of everything, north-south economic dynamics, trade deficits, and all of that. And to add to all of this, exploitation. Yes, and I'm calling out these, especially the Western countries. I'm calling out the US, the UK, Canada, France, and all of these countries. Why? Because this is part of the economic spiral we have to face in Africa. I may not have faced any of these rejections, but millions of Africans face these rejections. And when they do, you still retain their money. And if you claim you are willing to help Africa, stand up. They say the only time you should look down on someone is when you are helping them up. Why are you still engaged in this? It is neocolonialism, and it is unfair. If you don't give the person a visa, give them their money back. So, in Africa, 2024, as reports show, the cost of visa rejections, $67.5 million. Can you even imagine what this would do in the pockets of ordinary Africans to our economies? Now, the cost of visa rejections, if you look at the founder of LEGO, it's a collective, Marta Foresti, and they do research into these matters. She says the poorest countries in the world pay the richest countries in the world money for not getting visas. And it's happening, even in Ghana. Come next week, you'll see people queuing at some of these embassies. A lot of them will be rejected, up to 40%, 50%, and you retain their money. How in good conscience can these countries be doing that? So I'm calling you out this morning. It's not fair. The poorer the country of application, the higher the rejection rates. The poorer the country, the higher the rejection rates. And you are taking their money. These very poor countries, you are taking their money, retaining their money. And it says the countries like Ghana are affected with rejection rates as high as 40 to 50%. And you keep the money. How in good conscience can you do this? I have a lot of friends in the diplomatic circles in all of these embassies, but today I'm calling you out. Wrong is wrong, and it's not right. Now, just quickly through the energy sector bit, we've already spoken about this. So what's the dynamic? 1 liter, 1 cedi. 1 liter, 1 cedi. That's what it's looking like now. So if I go to the pumps, it's going to hit me. But what are the dynamics? If you look at it, I was just sharing a short while ago, in terms of the energy sector debt and how to deal with the situation. Petrol, if you look at it, the fuel type, you are looking at 0.95 Ghana cedis, and after the approval, you are looking at 1.95 Ghana cedis. Diesel, 0.93, that will shoot it up to 1.93 upwards, and then LPG 0.73, then you add on 0.73. That's the levy, realistically. But if you look at the trajectory, what is giving this government hope? If you look at it, fuel prices seem to have dipped per barrel. You see a high here of 87, that is around the 20th of May, and you go on and on and on. And when you come to where we are now, the 19th day of May, it has hit, not rock bottom, no, but $61 per barrel. It's hit a low in this period of 59. What that also means is that with the drop in fuel prices, government can make a stake and hope that this trajectory continues. It's a win-lose situation. We also export, oil, right? So we'll lose on that end. But when it comes to fuel prices, there will also be a drop in there, which will help us. And on the back of which government is saying, if that is the case, we can also capitalize on that and rake in some revenue to deal with our energy sector debt. And then if you look at, again, what is giving government hope? The red line deals with diesel, the blue line deals with super. On the 2nd of February 2024, you were buying super, that is petrol, for 12 cedis, 69 pesos. Diesel, 13 cedis, 49 pesos. Today, you look at where that trajectory is, the 2nd of June 2025, and you're looking at about 12 cedis, 52 pesos for super, and diesel at around 12.98. So this is going to be the real impact. At the start of year, petrol was selling at 14 cedis 99 pesos per litre. It has fallen to 12 cedis 52 pesos per litre. That gives you a drop in the price of petrol, 2 cedis 47 pesos, almost 2 cedis 50 pesos. Keep that in mind. When it comes to diesel, it was selling at 15 cedis and 60 pesos at the start of the year. It's now selling at 12 cedis 92 pesos. The gains made 2 cedis 68 pesos. Now, per the current arrangement, after the levy, and mind you, look at these figures, 2 cedis 47, 2 cedis 68. If you go to the current versus what it will be with a 1 cedi slapped on per litre, you will now move from 12.52 to 13 cedis 52 pesos, and you will move from 12.92 for diesel to 13 cedis 92 pesos. If you do the math, you still make some gains in there. But the question is, can the ordinary person bear the brunt? You just heard me interact with the drivers' unions. They also say they don't want to take that hit. But do we want to take it and help resolve, not solve? Because this money will not solve all the problems. And we are getting into that. If you look at ESLA over time, right, the total collections, 2016 to 2024, that's an 8-year period. It yielded 36.54 billion Ghana cedis. From government, we had 20.8 billion. The ESLA component was 1.04 billion. And that is what you see here. In 2024, 1.46 billion in US dollars. And in 2025, the projection going to 2.23. This one has to do with the shortfall in payment. The shortfall in payment. And it's actually increasing. So if in 2024, we had 1.46 billion, and I'm not talking cedis here, I'm talking dollars, the energy sector shortfall. And in 2025, it's estimated to get to 2.23 billion. If you add on and you roll over, you see where the debt is headed. And if we don't stem it at some point, the dynamics remain dire. In fact, if you look at the shortfall, the big risk ahead between 2023 and 2026, now we are projecting forward, right? This is what we are looking at, $8.94 billion. And you know what happens if you are unable to pay this? The country will shut down. The energy sector legacy debt alone stands at $3.1 billion. So the question is, now who go pay? Who go pay? I'm not saying we should necessarily pay, but who will pay? And if we don't pay, what will be the consequences? You know me, I'll leave it there. You think about it. But inflation, and where I'm going to end, it has dropped to 18.4%. Why is this interesting? I'll tell you why. If you look at January the 19th, in fact, you'd have to go back 3 years. Look at this red line. It's very important. March 2022, right? Thereabouts. This is where it stood. It has gone below 20% for the first time in 3 years. Now it stands, this is the first time, looking at the 20-year, the 3-year period, that it has fallen again below 20%. And mind you, when it hit 20+% in about 2 decades plus, that was the highest we had seen, if you recall. So inflation dropping, you look at the components that are contributing to it. And it's interesting, I had the transport union here, because transport is one. It stood at 15% in the last window. Now it's gone down to 3.10%. That is, if you look at April, the red chart bar represents April. 15% was its contribution. It's fallen to 3.10%. That's about 12% shaved off. In fact, 11.9%. Then for food, it was at 25%. It's fallen down to 22.8%. So these are actually the main contributors to inflation falling. And if they continue, because we all use transport affects the price of food. If food prices go down, transport fares go down. Inflation will continue to go down. And that's what everybody hopes for. Now, it's even more encouraging because on the back of some calls, the pharmaceutical industry is also responding. The price of pharmaceutical products, the size of the reduction, GN Corp and PIWA are set to reduce their prices by 5 to 15%, which then, I have a friend who sends messages on the show who says, look, we are buying abroad. We are outside the country. We send money for medicine, people here to buy medicine and all of that. If the cedi is appreciating against the dollar and others, reduce the prices. So this is a response to that, which will also impact inflation. Now, in terms of the reduction in price of pharmaceuticals, the reason cited reduced cost of imports due to cedi's appreciation, improved predictability due to currency stability, and enhanced access to medicine due to a decrement in there. So those are the dynamics. But I just want to reiterate my call. These foreign missions, be fair to Africa. You can't claim you want to help. We have the climate issue and all of that. You can't claim you want to help and still be slapping us from a different angle. If you don't give that person the visa, you know what? Give them their money back. Or give them some portion, 60%, 70%, 80% of their money. You can retain the rest for processing. Give the money back. Be fair to Africa. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, and edited, undiluted. As always, I pray, may God bless Ghana and make her great and strong. Welcome back on the AM show. And I'll be telling you right before we get into our Big Chef conversation about the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, that occasional lecture in this quarter. It's actually under the topic or the theme, Iniquities of Inequity in our Santa Claus Democracy. Iniquities of Inequity in our Santa Claus Democracy. And the speaker, Mr. Yawan Sako, is former Executive Vice President, Global Markets at Unilever. And the chairperson for that is Emerita Professor Tichiwa Menu, FGA's Vice President and Vice President of the Arts Section, actually. The FGA is just academic. Vice President, Arts Section at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. The relevant date, the Thursday, the 19th of June, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. and it's at the Kwame Nkrumah Auditorium of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. It will be live on this network. You don't want to miss that. So just letting you know ahead of time, one of those relevant conversations you'd want to join us on. But joining me in the studio now is the elegant, the flamboyant, the you know what? Michelle Adekum, what's your favorite food to cook?
Eto.
Eto?
Yeah.
Where eto?
Yeah.
Come up.
Or the eto, yes.
What do you put in there? What are the, as we say here, what are the encomiums?
Also, you need your groundnut paste, you need your plantain, and you need your pepper, your momoni. That's the powerful ingredients that you don't have to miss. Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. We have to sample this. I keep teasing her that, listen, you come and one of these days we have to eat on the set.
Oh, we will.
We shall.
We will.
Tell us about Big Chef, this latest bit. You just had your, is it 5th episode?
No, our 4th episode.
4th episode. So the 5th one is coming on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Okay. And that last one was an eviction, right?
Our very first eviction.
Who and who went?
Unfortunately, you see, I think last week it was like fall from grace. Because those who were evicted were the previous star chefs of the week.
You know, they say, he who thinks he's standing, be careful lest you fall.
Yeah, but I think for them, what didn't help them was their votes. You know, this time around, their votes.
Okay.
So your votes plus the judges' score is what will make you or break you. But then the star chef is basically is just the judges' discretion.
Okay.
If they feel that you made the best meal, then you are the star chef. And when you become the star chef, you're safe from eviction.
And this week, my people fall inside water.
The funds they received last Sunday that they had to go home the following Sunday, like it was heartbreaking.
I'm sure they themselves would be disappointed.
It was. You know, the boys felt like, no, we're not going to cry on TV. But look, after it was...
Oh, Bema soup. Bema de no, Bema soup. Charlie!
No, but it's very tough. You know, when everybody has hailed you, like everything, the judges were giving them fans like, oh, taste, check, presentation, check. Then the next Sunday I come, yes, I'm not getting the check, but I'm doing, you've done well. And then my people are not voting for me.
So what could go wrong and everything goes possibly wrong? Which teams are left in there And I guess that's also an encouragement, Charlie.
Yeah.
You better vote for your people, though, else eviction, they better form a rapture.
Exactly.
Which teams are left in there?
So they're actually individuals, but there are some episodes where we put them into groups. Yes, but so far, I mean, we started the season with 3 boys. 2 boys are out, so it's just one last man standing, and he is
among how many?
Yeah, so we have 9 ladies.
9 ladies versus 1 man. You know,
And
it
this
reminds me of
man
that
is-
advert from back then. 11 people chasing 1 ball.
Yeah, how?
9 women versus 1 man. How?
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I was hoping that the boys could go more. I actually like it when the boys are able to get into the finale. But I don't know. Let's hope and see if this guy, Jaden, and actually he's the only contestant from last season who came back and said, I'm coming to win. So hopefully. Yeah, maybe he'll make the men proud.
All right, so you'll be on set on Sunday. What
Yeah.
can we expect? Big Chef, final bit.
Yeah, so on Sunday, we're having a cookie and smoothie challenge. They're going to bake cookies, different flavors, and you don't have to miss it. And maybe someone may go home or not. Well, for Sunday's eviction, it depends on how I feel during that day. So, yeah, Auntie Michelle can decide that, look, judges, let's not do this.
Wow. Rich Auntie can determine.
I mean, that's why I'm their favorite
fate.
auntie, you know. Yeah, there are times where I come in to save them. In fact, the previous Sunday, someone had to go on. I was like, look, guys, Charlie, it's too early. But then last week, I couldn't do anything about it. So if you're watching me and you have your favorite in there, all you need to do is to vote for them. The code is *711*60#. And join us every Sunday at 4 p.m. on Joy Prime.
Sundays, 4 p.m. at Joy Prime. All I can say about Big Chef at this point, Bakusro. Bakusro. Anyway, thank you for staying with us. Let me also just bring this in quickly before we go to E-Corner with Noella Karen Yali. She's right in the wings. Happy birthday to my baby girl, Ilona. May the good Lord bless your new age, grow in grace and wisdom. And it's from your, should I say rich auntie, Loretta. Ilona, God bless you, okay? Happy birthday. E-Corner is just around the corner. Do stay.
So, first of all, let me say a happy, I'm hoping I'm wishing that right, but yeah, a happy Barakah Salah to all my Muslim friends or viewers or supporters of E-Corner right here on the show. I mean, I'm not a Muslim, but I'm a big supporter of Muslims, especially on Salah days. And so this is me officially telling you to preserve my meat, because I'm going to be coming to your houses. In fact, I'm already in your home, right? And so, yeah, it's only customary that per our culture, once a visitor comes into your home, you serve the person, right? You host the person really nicely. And so I'll be expecting a lot of meats, a lot of pito, a lot of brukina, or whatever it is. I'm very open to trying everything today. So yeah, happy Salah. I hope all your prayers, I don't know whether you guys do your prayers on special days like Christians would do with special requests and all of that. But yeah, if there's anything like that, I hope all of that comes to pass. But thank you so much for tuning in to the AM show this morning. Of course, it's now time for E-Corner with yours truly, Noella Karen. And listen, we've got a lot to unpack on the show today, or on the segment today. And so right after this, get your teacups ready, because I'll be serving. This is E-Corner. All right, so you're welcome back to E-Corner. I'm Noella Karen, and we're going to start with our stories. And we're going to start on a very high note. Let's start from Sunday, okay? The week started on Sunday. Really, okay, let me calm down. So I hope you guys all know Hadia for real, or should I say Mona for real. She used to be a socialite, very popular for her, good fashion sense, I should say. Apart from her fashion sense, known for her voluptuous body, very pretty face, and unfortunately for fraud. And I say that because she was arrested and jailed, I think, for a year and a day for her involvement in a romance scam, scamming people worth millions of, United States dollars. And so she was incarcerated in the US. Thankfully, she got released. I mean, before she got jailed, she, came into the music scene, tried her luck with music. In fact, I need to give her flowers, because she's one of the musicians, or should I say the first musician who released an album and had a music video for every single song on the album. It has never happened before. And thanks to Mona for real, she made that happen. But just about when her music, career was peaking, this romance scam thing came to pass inside, or fire inside. And so, yeah, she went into jail. But listen, she came back. And on Sunday on social media, she decided to announce her return to, I guess, active music, but most importantly, her return to Ghana with a new song called Move. Okay, I need you to listen to it, but I'd like for director, you should play from the beginning of the song and pay attention to the lyrics, okay? Because we want to talk about it. So watch. I mean, you've got to give it to her. She's a breath of fresh air when it comes to music. I mean, yeah, you can argue all you want. She doesn't have the best of voice. If you want to compare her to, some of the top, like people like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, whatever, you can really argue that, yeah, she's not your best vocalist. But hey, she's got the attitude, she's got the face, she's got the body, she's got the attitude. So yeah, that's Move. She says she's not like anybody, okay? More she's knocked down, she's gonna come back, and she's gonna come back on top. And so we move on to the next. Literally, that is what the lyrics is saying. And so yeah, Mona Faiz Montrage, or Hajia for real, or Mona for real, is back, and she's back to doing active music. And so you should be looking out for a lot of singles from her. Congratulations to her. You go, girl. We're here to support you. And yeah, whatever. Let's move on to other stories and talk about Shatta Wale. I'm personally really excited about this story because I think it's about time that we empower, local businesses around the world, globally. There are a lot of countries that champion people, using made in their country stuff, okay? So in Ghana, for instance, we should champion a lot of made in Ghana foods, made in Ghana products, and made in Ghana businesses. We should, patronize a lot of made in Ghana businesses. And so I'm going to link that to the fact that Shatta Wale this week partnered with the Youth Employment Agency. When I say he partnered, he has a ride-hailing service that works like, I don't want to give them credit, but yeah, when I say ride-hailing service, apart from Trotro and your taxi, those people that come to pick us from our home using an app, yeah. So Shaxi works like that. And he's partnered, his company, Shaxi, has partnered with the Youth Employment Agency, obviously to boost employment in the country. And I'm excited about it. And so let's take a listen to Malik Basantale, who is the CEO of the Youth Employment Agency, talking about details about this deal.
Job seekers to job owners, and that platform will be created in a few weeks' time. Once that is created, we'll be able to pass some of these drivers that will be in search of vehicles through our employment bureau, and the additional incentive that will offer them is not just giving them a vehicle, but we will make provision to support them with monthly stipends, and at YEA every month for the first 2,000 car owners who would bring their cars to be registered on Shaxi. The first 2,000 every month would support the driver with 500 cedi worth of fuel coupon every month. There's an additional incentive to anybody who registers with taxi. So to the young car owners out there, if you have a car, the portal, after this partnership, the portal will be opened, come through, register with Shagzy, and then every month, the driver will be given 500 CD worth of fuel coupon, free of charge. And then the third is for me as Malik.
So there you have it. Malik Basintali there, who's the CEO of YEA, talking about details about this deal. In case you missed out on it, well, he's inviting all of you that have cars, you know, to come sign on to Shagzy. And for the next 6 months, if you happen to be one of those drivers that signs on to Shagzy, you get, every month, you get 500 Ghana cedis free fuel coupon for the next 6 months. I think it's a fair deal. It's a very good deal, right? So we should all support this. Congratulations to Shatawale, my very good friend. Very, very controversial. But yeah, this is good. I saw Sarkodie post about it in support. And so, yeah, kudos to him as well. Let's move away quickly from that and talk about Mayor Kun. Mayor Kun is a Nigerian musician. You probably know him for this song. Listen. Yeah, so yeah, that's all I know about the song. So that's The Best by Mayor Kun. It features Davido. He's a musician who got introduced into the music scene, the Nigerian music scene, by superstar musician Davido. And he's in Ghana currently. He had a brilliant conversation with my colleague Doreen Avia. In fact, I wanted to tell you how he describes his connection with Ghana and his music, but also he talked about how he's now left the record label of Davido, but is so grateful to him for his impact in his career and, you know, how that impact sort of shaped the trajectory of his career. So let's take that second video, director, not the first one.
Wish you didn't do or you did right as an artist before now?
I mean, this particular answer I'm about to give is not like I knew what I was doing, but I'm very grateful that I met Davido, because he really like shaped my trajectory and stuff. So yeah, I think that's one of the things
That's one of the things, should I say, you're happy about?
Yeah.
But is there anything you regret? Maybe something you did that you shouldn't have done?
I don't think so, because if I do regret those things, I wouldn't have been in this position I am. So yeah, I don't regret any of my decisions or
decisions you've made till today. Since you are not on Davido's record label, what label are you on now?
I'll announce my personal label very soon.
Very soon?
But I'm working with Sony Africa right now.
Okay. Just for us to have a snippet, is it going to be something that is going to be your personal label where you also get to sign artists or not?
Yeah, of course.
That's how it's going to be.
All right, so congratulations to him. We are anticipating that official announcement, but it's instructive to know that he's in Ghana to promote his yet-to-be-released, I think he's releasing it today, album called Still the Mayor album. Really, really, really smart by Nigerian musicians. Anytime they're about to release something major, like a major project, they think it wise to come to Ghana and do the promotion, but our musicians, they don't often do that. They do that, but not as often. I guess we can, follow suit or learn from them. Anyway, let's move on from that and bring you some more good stories or good news. Talking about Molly. Remember Molly? The young lady whose song is, still charting, or topping charts, I should say. I had an interview with her a few weeks ago. For this song, maybe you've forgotten the song. This is it, Shake It to the Max, the remix. Oh, so there's an official song, dance. You do this, and then you just whine. I guess that's the official dance to the song. But yeah, that's Shake It to the Max, the remix. It features Sheng Yang and Skill Bang, and it has been, top and chart, the Billboard Hot 100. It went at #1. That's huge. That's really, really huge. And that was for this week. So yeah, congratulations to her. But she's not the only one, or not the only song that's, from Ghana, top and charts. Also, Jackie's Sankofa of her After Midnight album, which is yet to be released, is also charting the Billboard, or topping the Billboard Afrobeat chart at, I think, number 50. Yeah, that's it, Sankofa. In case you don't know or haven't heard about the song, listen. Yes, whatever. I'm not your best singer. So yeah, congratulations to Jackie as well. Her album is, on the way. It's called After Midnight. You should obviously patronize those body of work. But before we go, let me send a special shout out to, or a belated birthday shout to the dad of KKD, the legendary KKD. He says, happy birthday to my dearly beloved and deeply respected father. Here's the long life and good health, cheerful company, peace and joy to Openyi Kwesi Dakwas, from your proud son KKD, and of course from Benjamin Akapo as well, and I guess myself and the whole E-Corner crew. But that's it for our show for today. It's a special holiday edition. I should have been home chilling, but I love you. By now you should know that I love you, right? And that's why I'm on your screen. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in to the show.